So anyway, we'll get started. So usual introductions first of all. Welcome to the Azeroth Review. This is our mostly Battle for Azeroth special because in an hour's time, Blizzard are going to be talking about Battle for Azeroth. They've muscled in on my time slot. They usually do theirs on Thursdays. They've been cheeky monkeys. So the plan is we can talk about it for an hour and then I'll still be streaming, but I'm going to be listening to what they're saying. I won't be able to pipe it through to here because apparently that's naughty. Can't do that. And then, but then if other people just want to open up a new window and just listen to that, we can still chat about it here. It should all be good. It worked at BlizzCon. We did it at BlizzCon and it all worked fine. So the other thing I'll just say before I come to the comments is you'll notice a little bit different. We've got larger font size here. Someone said in a comment that when they're watching this back on YouTube on their phone, they can't really see the comments. I do try and read out comments, but I'm not always brilliant at it. So I've made larger font here. We'll see how it goes. So if anyone who is watching this on their phone later on YouTube can tell me if it's actually better, then we'll go with that. It's taking up much more screen space, of course. So let's have a look here. What have we got? When do I think the pre-purchase will be? There's no reason why it won't be this week. I don't think it's right to offer the pre-purchase before they give a maximum date. That they should say it will definitely be out by this date. They shouldn't really be taking any money for that. Maybe they'll do that today. Maybe they'll say it'll definitely be out by the end of January 2019, something like that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it does sound like why put it into the game? Why put all, where is it? What is it? I've got stuff. Stuff is here. There it is. So why put in the mounts and the pet in the game if they're not going? If the pre-order isn't imminent? So it could well be like today, tomorrow-ish, whatever it happens to be. Pre-alpha BFA. There's no such thing as pre-alpha. It's alpha. But I mean, this is the thing as well. This is what got a few people upset as well in something I said. Basically, they shouldn't be calling it alpha. Alpha has already been existing. It's coming to the end of alpha. Alpha's over. It's beta. What alpha's supposed to be is in-house testing. When they test it in-house, which is what they've been doing so far. And let's make that a bit small. It's chopping my head off. Or maybe with external people, but they're for technical reasons. As soon as they open it up to end users without technical knowledge, then it's beta. It's beta, and it's already up. It's up. They just haven't invited anyone to it yet. They've actually activated it. They activated it last week. Last Thursday, in fact, it was activated. All they have to do is invite people into it. But they haven't done that yet. And someone's telling me now that they're not likely to do it today either. But it is imminent. It bloody well should be imminent. It's ready. Anyway, whatever. Right, okay. I'm going to have to keep scrolling up here because of the giant text size. When is a better time to make the allied races available? To be fair, I wouldn't. There's no rush to make them available right now. It's one of those things. The thing is, what they could do, it's supposed to be tied to the pre-order. But the thing I can't help noticing is there's 4 allied races in the game files, but not all 6. Now, why would there be only 4, not all 6? Because they plan on making them available before Battle for Azeroth. Now, doesn't mean to say they plan on making them available as soon as the pre-order goes out. They could do what they did with Demon Hunters. With Demon Hunters, you could play them early if you bought the pre-order. But you couldn't play them when you bought the pre-order. You could only start playing them when the pre-expansion patch came out. That was a month before release. They could do the same thing. They might say, here, I'll take your money now for the pre-order. Here's your mount and pet. But allied races, you won't be able to play until a month before release. Whatever it is. They could do that. I don't think they will, but they could. Unpopular opinion here, but you think tonight's Q&A might be very disappointing. Well, we don't know, do we? The disappointing thing already for me is the fact that we haven't learnt anything new since BlizzCon. So I was expecting the alpha invites to go out. Well, I'll call it alpha. I don't mind calling it alpha. It's not. But for the invites to go out, so then people would stream some stuff or do videos on some stuff give new information, then people could ask questions based on that. Then it would be a good Q&A. So the Q&A, there isn't going to be any sensible questions, really, because there's already been the opportunity to ask those questions. There's no questions based on new information possible, because there's no new information. I don't get it. Do not get it. Have I noticed that I can now boost friends in dungeons and get them tons of XP? No, I haven't. But thank you for telling me, because I don't need to boost friends. I have 2 accounts, so I can boost my own characters. If that is the case, I don't know. I haven't actually tried that. Maybe I should try that. I was, in yesterday's stream, I was actually started a priest, a dwarf priest. Because the raid was, you know, we couldn't go ahead with the raid. So, yeah, I could try that. You hope there'll be some Legion announcements as well. I did too. It's just that they said it's about Battle for Azeroth. I mean, it could be that whoever wrote the forum post might have just not included everything they intend to talk about. They might in turn, they might talk about what's coming up in you know, BFA. It's just that they don't, you know, they don't seem to be at the moment. So let's have a look. Let's keep catching up. Loads of comments. Loads of comments. You watch this on your phone via the Twitch app. You can see it perfectly. Okay. Well, we'll see. If the people who couldn't see it very clearly, maybe they weren't doing it through the Twitch app. Because obviously, YouTube, I think it was a comment on YouTube, so I'm guessing it's through YouTube. I thought they legally had to give a latest release date, Gaz. They may do. I don't know. I don't know that. It would certainly be bad to offer it for pre-order without doing that. But it may not be legally the case, because bear in mind, like, I've paid for Ashes of Creation. Admittedly, that's on a crowdfunding thing, so maybe that's legally different. But I've effectively paid for that game. No release date at all. We don't even have a release year. So, you know. But I don't know where the law stands on that, if I'm honest. And of course, the law will be different in different countries anyway. I don't know what EU law will be different to, say, US law or Canadian law or whatever law. You're prepared for a content drought. The Allied race will keep you occupied for some time. Well, I'm not sure for some time. They might keep you occupied for a bit. I don't think there's a lot of new quests for them. It's mostly a new race. The other problem is this. The thing that makes me think Allied races won't be coming immediately is that it might unbalance raids right now. There's going to be a flurry of people wanting to get these things and get them into raids. Some of their racial, I mean, they've gone completely the other way to where I would go. Like I've already talked about the fact that I think the racials are just too much. There's something else, some of these new racials. Wow. Blimey. But, you know, so you definitely think Allied races come out at 8.0? It's very, very possible indeed. It is definitely feasible to suppose that. When is BFA expected to release fully? All they said, this is again, the only information we have right now, is that their aim was to get it out by the end of 2018. So that means they're not even sure it will come out this year. But that was their aim. Now, what you would say from that is you're probably talking at the very earliest October. That's what that sounds like to me, based on when they've said similar things in the past. Instead of horse raptor faction mounts, one of the bumblebees. Oh yeah, I love that bumblebee. Do you know what else I love as well? There's that, I don't know whether it's a mace or something, that actually looks like a honey, what do you call them? The things that you put in honey and twizzle it around and drizzle it all over your cereal and stuff. Don't have one, I don't know what it's called. But there's a thing like that. It looks like, I think it's a mace. I love weapons that look like things like that. Like when I was leveling my priest, I haven't leveled a character from the early levels for ages. And I was leveling the priest yesterday. And there was a quest reward and I could choose a mace that looked like a flaming brand. I thought, oh, that's fantastic, like a torch. Or I could have had something else that looked awesome. Oh, an offhand that looked like a stick of dynamite. And I thought, I want both of them. That's not fair. It made me choose between one or the other. I wasn't happy. But I love things like that. Like, and I wish I'd kept them and I never did. Like, you used to be able to get a mace in the shape of a rolling pin. It looked like a rolling pin in vanilla. I don't know where it was from. And then there was Cookie, before he became a boss, a proper boss in Dead Mines. You could get a few things that dropped off him. Like, one thing was like a spoon. I think that might have been his wand. I think he dropped the rolling pin as well. I think, actually, yeah, I think that dropped from Cookie as well. But, you know. Hang on, this new font is a bit weird for me, sorry. I might miss some comments. I'll have to keep scrolling back. Horde Collector's Edition mount is way better than Alliance mount. I'm not sure. I don't just mean in terms of looks. They both look really good. I think they look amazing, in fact. Let's get them back up. My issue with Raptors is riding them around on them. You jump up and down on the screen. I don't like that. They're bouncing up and down all the time. Does my head in. You know, because the first thing I do when I actually played Horde for a little bit casually, I did play a Horde like properly last year, but in Wrath, when I came back casually, joined a Friends Guild, I did the quest to get the Raptor. It was like the Winter Saber map, but for Horde, the Raptor one. Can't remember what it was called. And I rode it, you know, after doing it all, for spending a month doing it, just bouncy, 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 bouncy. And I thought, no, 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 don't like this. Don't like this. Everyone is hyping themselves up, so if they don't release pre-orders or allied races, people are going to be pissed at Blizzard. Possibly. I just see more reasons to say that the allied races are not imminent. I don't see that it makes sense. First of all, I agree that it could distract from a bit of, dare I use the word content drought, but we're not in that now. There is no content. Even if there's going to be, there may never be. Hopefully there won't be. But if there's going to be, it's not now. You know, they're good for another couple of months. You know, if they get up to Easter, then that's when they need to start throwing something out then. For now, we're okay. We're okay. Care to explain the racials for us? What aspects of the racials? You boosted someone from 77 to 100 in a few hours. I don't like very grindy stuff, though. But if you mean just doing dungeons, then that's absolutely the sort of thing I'm fine doing. As I say, I have two accounts. I have two accounts for two reasons. But one of the big reasons was so that I could boost my characters when I was leveling them through content. What have I just done? I've missed something. But thank you, Crichton. Oh, 6 resubs. Half a year. Oh, thank you very much. I don't know where my dancing Murloc's gone now. Where is my dancing Murloc? I hear him. I just don't see him. Where the hell is it? Oh my god. He's here somewhere. Hang on. Where the hell is he gone? Oh my god, it's there. Is that it? Right, we'll see if that works next time. Sorry. Hi, McConnell. Right. I was excited for today until someone told me that it's been leaked that the invites are still not going to go out today. Like I was just saying, I think the invites should have gone out before the Q&A so that people had something to ask about. All we've got to ask about is the stuff they told us months ago at BlizzCon. That's months ago. What's something new? It's supposed to be imminent still. I mean, they're not saying it's definitely not today. They just got the impression that it's not. I mean, it doesn't mean to say I would get the invite. Although, I need someone to explain to them that if I don't get an invite into the alpha, I'll have a lot more time to cause trouble. I will cause much less trouble if I'm in there because I'll have stuff to do. I will cause a little bit of trouble. Unless they remove the retribution passive, in which case I'll be as good as gold. But yes. Oh, well, it was not supposed to be covered by the mounts. It was actually covered by everything, sorry. My Murloc should now work. It should all be fine. But yes. So let's... Hang on, what have I got here? So we can get rid of that. Well, there other stuff I had here. Hi, Lemnakin, how are you? So, let's have a look what we were talking about. Now when you choose quest rewards, you get the transmog of them all. Yes, but I wanted the actual thing. I mean, it was a mace. It gave me a free hand with which to hold stick of dynamite. Sorry, the chat box in the way. Never mind. So I could, you know, I don't know why I'd like a torch and a stick of dynamite would be amazing. I would love that. So, Glaze, expect nothing and you'll never get disappointed. There's a saying in the UK, actually, that's quite similar to that, which runs along the lines of, if you expect a kick in the balls, then a slap in the face is a victory. Unfortunately, it's a rather cynical approach to take. Gnomes are not becoming paladins. Ian has it. I wish I... Do you know what? When that was asked at BlizzCon, I should have downloaded the clip. I should have had the clip to just put there, but I didn't. And unfortunately, when I went back to it, because I intended to do that, it was gone. You know, it didn't exist anymore. But he said on camera, Gnome paladins wouldn't make sense. The game director of World of Warcraft said they wouldn't make sense. He says they sort of try to give different race class combinations, but they accept that there are some that just don't happen. Night Elf Paladins, of course, could, because there is already 2 Night Elf Paladins in the Order Hall, one of which is dead. You know, I mean, I don't even know what constitutes a Paladin anymore. First of all, we get Sun Cows, and then we get, like, Night Elf Paladins. What the hell's that about? I'm sort of okay with Night Elf Paladins, but Ghost Paladins, so we've got Undead Paladins in Ghost form. So why not just make Undead Paladins a thing for Horde, and then they can stop playing cows. Then, including McConnell, you play a cow, I've seen it. Then we've got... what else have we got? We've got a bloody demon. Alright, in Natrazine, whatever. But a demon. Gnomes are not awesome. Anduin... I know, they still insist Anduin's a priest. Is he really? Okay, fine. But they can say what they want. They can say that Anduin's a priest, whatever. They can say that gnomes are a good idea. It's their game. They can do what they want. But they shouldn't be calling beta alpha, because it just gets me into trouble. Then I get shit off everyone. Oh, you shouldn't be calling it beta when it's alpha. Bollocks. It's beta. If end users are going to be playing it, it's beta. That's all there is to it. But I will call it alpha for the video. I called it alpha last time on the videos, just so that, again, I don't confuse people. But, you know, I do anyway. Yeah, they've said Anduin is a priest, but he's a priest that wears full plate armor and casts Crusader Strike and Templar's Verdict in the cinematic. I mean, technically, to be a paladin is not about the abilities you use. It's about, you know, it's an order. Like, he has to be inducted into the Order of the Silver Hand, you know. So that could easily happen. But he's using paladin abilities. The fact that some of them look a little bit like priest abilities is irrelevant, because paladins are a cross between priests and warriors. And that is not to say, again, because people keep using that, oh, well, gnomes can be warriors and gnomes can be priests. So therefore, gnomes should be paladins, because they're a combination of the two. But gnomes should never have been priests in the first place. What happens... Well, I remember Cataclysm. I wasn't playing at the start of Cataclysm. I took a break from WoW because I was getting sick of it. And I came back to find gnome priests were a thing. And what happens as soon as you made gnomes priests? Did they start healing people? Did they, El? I joined a guild with a gnome priest. Do you know what he used to do? He used to life grip me into shit all the time. You know, thought it was funny. On that boss in Dragon Soul, you know, I can't remember the one, where you had to run and kill tentacles all the time. You know, there's a certain phase of the fight we had to run around the room killing tentacles. We weren't fast even then. Even then we had movement problems. So I'd be running just about to get to this bloody thing, and the bastard would grip me back. He used to try and grip me into snails in Throne of Thunder. That was a different guild, different gnome. But it was still a gnome priest. It's just what they do. It's just what they do. That's just how they behave. There's certain people that are drawn to certain classes in games, you know. Like Asmongold, someone with his personality, he suits a warrior. You know, that's the sort of warrior mentality. And you get some people who, like, rogues tend to be the sneaky loners that play those. And you get various other little associations. And insidious little sneaks are the ones who play gnomes. The ones who want to screw over everyone else. Those are the people that are attracted to gnomes. Did I see the dinosaur mount yet? The raptor mount, you mean? Or do you mean the actual dinosaur mount? I don't understand why they won't make him a paladin. I don't know why. They have their reasons. It doesn't really matter. He's a paladin. That's all there is to it. I'm glad he wasn't a paladin in the early days, because he was a right weenie little kid when he was growing up. Tosso, don't want him as a paladin. Keep him as a priest. That was fine, you know. But I'll be honest, Anduin, he's turned into a bit of a bloke since then. You know, he's been quite good in Legion. I've quite liked old Anduin, so I'm perfectly happy to have him as a paladin. But he's not, apparently. He can't be a paladin because he hasn't given his life to just to light. Well, that's quite... Well, has he got shadow magic? When's the last time he used it? Because you're quite right. I mean, that's the thing. There's loads of paladins want... well, first of all, the Horde paladins all want to be Zandalari trolls, and the Alliance ones all want to be Void Elves. Void Elves are completely out of the question, because you can't use Shadow as a paladin. You're totally on the lights. Total lie. Complete off. Even though, yes, paladins as creatures will be a combination of the two, because everything is, they only focus on the light side of it. It's a bit like Jedi. They only on the light side. Even though the dark side is within them, they don't do that. They're not messing about with that. Does McConnell fit a paladin? Certainly. A Retribution paladin, definitely. Manduin. Yes, that should be his name now. Manduin the paladin. Oh, yeah, the Brutosaur. Yes, yes, I have seen that one, yeah. That looks quite cool. There's a lot of very, very nice models I've seen. I think, you know, they've outdone themselves again, the art team. They've done, it's superb. I'm looking forward to getting in there and having a look at stuff. Because that's what I mean. When you first get into Alpha anyway, nothing's going to work. It's going to be an absolute shit show. In fact, you won't even be able to do all your keybinds in one go because you'll keep getting disconnected and it'll just wipe them. So that's what you'd have to do. You have to do a few keybinds at a time, log out, log back in to save them, and then do a few more. But it doesn't matter. As long as I can get to places to actually have a nice close-up look at some of these models and stuff. Because I think it's just nice. Blizzard just confirmed allied races available with pre-order. Let's get old Twitter up, shall we? Let's have a look at this job. You wouldn't be trolling me, would you? Now, what it says is that the allied races unlock available with pre-purchase. That had already been source of data mined before we knew that. The question is, unlocking them is not the same as being able to play them right now. They might do that. They might do that. I sort of have an inkling they're going to. I just don't think they should this early. But, you know, I agree that, you know, it sounded like that's the sort of thing they intended to do. Our Ret Pal is going to get the shafted BFA. No, the thing is, right, I have some criticisms, but bear in mind, Retribution Paladins have been actually decent in Legion. They've not been world-breaking. We've not been Affliction Warlocks or anything, but we've been pretty decent. There was a dodgy time in Tomb of Sargeras, okay? That was a bad one. Not throughout the whole raid, but I would say certainly the last two bosses, we were not good on it. But we were fine in Emerald Nightmare, fine in Trial of Valor, pretty good I thought in Trial of Valor actually. Fine in Nighthold, and we're fine in Antorus. In fact, if people would just die every now and then, pretty good in Antorus in fact. It means being able to unplay them. Okay, well, we'll see. I mean, you know, I got the impression that that would be the case anyway. I just don't know. But if that's the case, then that's the case. Then that means, yes, we will suddenly be inundated with a load of Void Elves and, well, not Zandalari Trolls. We can't get those till BFA. What are people going to roll on Horde then? What are people going to be hankering at? Obviously, Allied, everyone's just going to make a Void Elf. No one cares about the Lightforged Draenei, sod it. But, you know, Void Elf, definitely. What's the Horde one going to be? Surely it's not going to be the cow. Or Moose. Moosemen. So, I guess... But do people really like the Nightborn? I'm not that bothered about the Nightborn, to be honest. Yeah, the level 100 will change to a level 110 boost. I'm not sure how I feel about that, actually. At this early stage. I'm not sure. My issue is, if they actually put the 110 boost in now, which, okay, it sounds like they're going to. It just sounds to me like All those people that said there's not going to be any more raids in Legion, and yes, we knew there's not going to be any more tier raids in Legion, but the people who said there's not going to be any raids at all in Legion, it just makes it sound like they're right. That's my issue. It sort of makes it sound like there isn't any significant content left to come in Legion, and that won't be good. So I'm not sure what to think about that realistically. I mean, obviously they're going to talk about it. Is it realistic to expect BFA pre-purchase to release today? It's possible. I think tomorrow might be more likely. It is possible. I mean, what time will it be? So hold on. What time will it be in California? It'll be like, what? I don't know. 12 o'clock or something, midday, when they start going live. So let's say it takes an hour and a bit for them to finish talking. Be like just after lunchtime, yeah, about that. So about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It gives them a few hours left of office time, doesn't it, to set everything going? So it could be today. There'd certainly be time for them to do it. There'd certainly be time for them to say the pre-order will be going live after we've done this stream. What's the link for the QA stream? I will post it for you. Oh no, I've deleted my own link. What the hell? Oh no, sorry, I've tried to... Shit. Sorry, it's my fault. I've tried to post it in their Twitch. I wondered why I couldn't post links on my own bloody Twitch channel. But there you go. That's the link for the Twitch stream. What do you mean the pre-order's live on NA? Surely not. Surely not. Is it? What? Well, there you go. Well, that answers that question then, doesn't it? I'm not seeing anything on my battle. But then again, maybe my Battle.net has to close down and open up again for new stuff to appear on it. Well, is it the same price as last time? What's the cost? What's it costing now? Oh, yeah, the token price is spiking to over 300. It might go even higher. I'm going to wait. I might leave it to... Should I wait for it to work? Because I sort of buy those, and then that's how I get my gold these days. I just get a couple of WoW tokens every now and then. So I'll be doing a bit of that. Yeah, I'll be cashing in there. You got Lou Harris on the store while loading into the game just now. What? $50 normal, 70 deluxe. Right, I wonder what it is EU prices. Let's have a little look. Well, yes, for the boost alone, it's not... That would be about the same as an actual cost of a boost, wouldn't it? Well, it's not live on my account. I can't upgrade to BFA when I go into my account settings. So it doesn't seem to be live on EU at any rate. Hi, Purple. But, well, it might not. I mean, it might be just because it's reset day in North America today, isn't it? It's reset day in Europe tomorrow, so maybe they'll just do it with the reset day. You don't see BFA on the Blizzard store? No, neither do I. Never mind. Doesn't matter. It might well be. But it doesn't, I mean, you know, we'll find out all when they start joining on about it anyway. Did anyone actually ask any questions, by the way? Has anyone actually tweeted or posted any of the forums? What have you been asking them to see if any of them actually come up? No, don't smoke weed. That's what led to things like gnomes in the first place. You've been holding back on leveling just for this. Well, they've obviously not connected them up then or something. If you're clicking on it, it's not actually working. I mean, it's not showing at all for me. Holding back on leveling a bunch of new guys for 110. I mean, I helped. So I'd already sort of created a priest before, and I was going to level that before. I held on just for the zone scaling thing, just to see how that would work out. But which I'm not very happy about, actually. I'm not pleased with it so far. So I got my priest to like level 15 yesterday during the stream, and I wasn't happy that at level 15 I couldn't go to Duskwood. No demon hunter void elves. Well, lore-wise, there's any number of races that might be okay becoming demon hunters. Because remember, it's only a taught thing now. You know, there's nothing to stop. There's nothing inherently racist about demon hunters as such. There's nothing to stop the current crop of demon hunters teaching other races to be demon hunters. Because demons will still be a thing. I can't remember. I think they gave a reason. It might have been something as simple that the demon hunters were just elves for Legion, just because of the complex models and all the the way the armor has to fit on them and all the rest of it to show off their tattoos and stuff like that. So have you? Well, it's not showing for me, but it doesn't matter. I don't need it today. Well, someone is linking on. I've seen someone linking on Twitter on the in-game store a link to it, and indeed, yes, $50 normal, $70 for the deluxe, the digital deluxe, for which you get the Alliance mount, the Horde mount, the baby Tortollan pet, items in other Blizzard games. I don't play them, never mind. Now, I'd be interested to see what happens when you click on products details, because that might also include a maximum date. But if the link doesn't actually work, oh, if the link does work, so when you click on product details, does it say will be guaranteed to go live by such and such a date? Because that's the important piece of information. Will be released. No, I'm not believing that. I do not believe. You're kidding me there. I don't believe you. Hi, Diablo. You finally got the Affliction Helm. Oh, good. Brings you to a 404 page. There you go. I don't believe September. I refuse. That's not happening. No, you're kidding. You're gonna have to link me. No, you have to link me personally, because it won't show up if you just link it into chat. I expect a screenshot, or it doesn't happen. I don't care how many people say it. I'm not believing it till someone screenshots it. As I say, for me, it's not even. Well, it's not on my account settings anyway. I'm not actually in. I'll tell you what. Let's just go in game. I've had enough of this. I'm going to see for myself. Yeah, you won't be able to link it in the chat. You can link it to me, and then I will link it in the chat after I've checked it if it's valid. I'm going in game anyway. I'm going to see for myself. Because, 21st September is mad. I don't understand how they can go from, at BlizzCon, we're hoping to get it out by the end of 2018 to, yeah, this coming out in summer. I don't care about. I don't actually want to buy it. I just want to check on the products details. That's all I'm interested in. Oh, yeah. Oh, I've got a cool looking Murloc, though. 404, page not found. And there's a Murloc in a blizzard. How cute. He looks happy to say he's stranded and alone and orphaned. We've dispatched a rescue Murloc to guide you back to safety. Oh, I wasn't actually in any danger, but thank you very much. Yeah, sorry, you're gonna have to, you can't post links. You can PM them to me, and then I can see. No. Where have you sent it me? But I'm not going to even attempt to get it just yet because I don't need it. Because I have to get it on the right account as well. Because I have to get one collector's edition, and then later on I'll get one normal edition for the other account. Makes available the quest lines, which enables players to access the High Mountain and Void Elf, High Mountain Torrent, like blah 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 blah. The 4 we knew about, yeah. To unlock allied races, quest lines player. I've already completed all the prerequisites for it. I've got all the reps and I've done all the quest lines. So, oh, sorry. Okay, people have whispered me things. Right, great. Let's have a look then. Oh my God! You're not actually lying to me. Wow. What the hell? Well, that's a bit of a turnaround, isn't it? Well, I am surprised. And that's at the latest. Do you know what they're going to do? I know what... Oh, I know what they're going to do as well. Little beggars. I know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to do what they did in Legion. I am going to. Yes, 1 minute. Sorry. They're going to bring it out on the day after having 6 weeks off. I get 6 weeks off at summer. They're going to bring it out on the day I go back, just like they bloody well did with Legion. Oh, do you know what? I hate them so much. Right, so let's just move that down so it doesn't block off my Dancing Murloc. Let's put it next to Jaina. So there we go. There we go. Definitely by September 21st, 2018. The hell? No, I don't get personal time days. To be fair, like I get a quarter of the year off. Okay, I have to work in it as well, but at least I'm working on my own terms. A quarter of the year off. The trade-off is I don't get to choose when I'm off. Apologise, I do. Well, I do. I don't understand. I still do not understand. Like, here's the thing as well. There's 2 issues I have with this. One is at BlizzCon, they were saying we aim to get it out by the end of 2018. That means they're not even sure they can do that. Now they're saying they're bringing it out in summer. Like the 21st of September, that's like equinox. I mean, that's like just at the... It's summer. It's a summer release. Even if it comes out on the 20th of September, that's still technically summer. So... how do you go from not being sure you can bring it out in 2018 to bringing it out in summer 2018? And here's another thing. The alpha, all right, the alpha, beta, whatever. It's so let people get into it this week, let's say. That means that's a maximum of about, there's not much more than half a year worth of testing there. That's going to be the shortest open testing, if we call it that, beta, basically, there's ever been, surely. Oh my God. And do you know another thing it means? It means I now agree that there's probably not going to be another raid. Because they can get away with this. They can get away with, at Easter time, bringing out some crap content. You know, like solo casual content. Calling it content. And then summer they know people are going to piss off anyway. And then it's all into hype mode. You know, August, bring out the pre-expansion patch. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my God. Whoa. Well, there hasn't been a proper summer release, really. I mean, okay, it's, you know, Legion was technically summer because that came out on the 30th of August, which was the day I went back. And I know exactly why it came out on 30th of August either. It's not because that was when it was ready. They brought it out on the 30th of August for that rubbish pun effectively on the word legion that no one even got, or hardly anyone even got. I know, because that's not a coincidence. I know they did that for the Bible reference. They seem to have moved on from their Draenor era issues. Apparently, they had to recruit a whole new team. Well, they did keep talking about the fact that they've hired. It's a massive team. The World of Warcraft team is massive compared with how it's been in the past. You're much happier with this than BFA releasing later. Oh yeah, this is, no doubt about it. The fact that it's going to be releasing sooner is a good thing. No question. I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised. Given that they weren't even sure they could get it out by the end of 2018. What, 2.5 months ago? Was that when BlizzCon was? Can't remember now. We may still get a TOV style raid. This is possible. It just seems less likely. Is it? Let's have a look. Hold on. Oh yeah, but it's not actually. Apparently in 19 minutes they intend to go. They're just still counting down to like the time when they said. Basically, the line in the Bible where Jesus is going to the possessed guy and he says, "I am legion for we are many." That is from the book of Luke, chapter 8, verse 30. Hence 8:30, which is how Americans write their dates. We do it the other way around. We do 30th of the 8th. But in America, like 8:30 is the 30th of August. That's why they did it on that day. Not because... So I reckon they could have brought it out a couple of weeks earlier. In which case... No, I don't mean it. In which case... I could have actually used some holiday time to level up. Instead of which, I had to level up and gear 2 characters... whilst working, and not just whilst working at one of the busiest times of the year. That start of the term, new students, all the rest of it. I've got to go around beating them all up so they know who's boss. That's the busiest time of the year. So, the mounts look very nice. I just don't like riding raptors. I can't stand it. They're just bouncing up and down all the time. Can't be doing with it. It's like being on a pogo stick. It's neither high school nor university, between the two. I am between the two. It may work differently in America, but we have like what you'd call high school, goes up to the age of 16. Then you have 16 to 18 or 19, depending on what course they do. Then they go to university. I have them in that interim bit. Getting them ready for university or apprenticeships or whatever, or jobs, whatever else they want to do. So it's pre-university, but post-compulsory education. So no, I don't teach in university now. Blizzard released Decider people. Let's find the week. Most universities go back and release it then. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, they might release it a good month before that. I mean, that's the thing. This is not going to be a very long beta testing period, is it? I don't know. I don't know how the American education system really works. So, but it's what you do between the ages of 16 and 18, or at least what you do immediately prior to going to university. It's getting the qualifications that get you into university. But again, it's a very different system. So there might not be a direct translation. Oh, our schooling prior to university is really crap as well. Don't worry about it. We teach them nothing in schools. They know nothing. I have students come to me clueless. I was trying to do stuff with them today, mathsy stuff. I'm getting them ready to do some actually difficult maths in the next couple of days, a couple of my classes, and I'm building up to it, and they're asking the stupidest bloody questions. They haven't got a clue. But anyway. Oh yeah, Purple, as I understand it, with the funding for American schools, it's based on, if I'm right, the rates that are drawn from local taxes, which means if you're in a poor area, of course, not as many people earning as much, so fewer taxes to go into schools. If you're in a rich area, more taxes, therefore better schools. Yeah, we don't have it like that in this country. In fact, technically, schools in poorer areas can often get more money in this country, so it's better from that point of view. The problem is not some, although it is underfunded in this country as well, but the problem is not so much the funding, it's the fact that the government makes teachers in schools teach them so much crap that they know they're not going to remember a year later, and they don't teach them the important stuff. Like, I have kids, you know, I'm trying to teach them at the moment because they're now getting to the point where they're old enough to vote. They don't even know how our democracy works. They have no idea about parliamentary democracy. Not a clue. So I take it upon myself, even as a science teacher, to try and educate them on that. They don't know how taxes work. They don't know how employment law works. So there's loads of them getting like scammed in their jobs. But anyway, that's let's forget about politics. We've got 14 and a half minutes to go before they start, or maybe start saying something. As I say, I reckon this countdown on their Twitch channel is for them to start squeezing themselves into the little cupboard they've got, which apparently is an improvement on their previous cupboard, but it still looks a bit cramped to me. I don't think I would fit in it. So, go on then. Sorry, I might have missed it. I was asking earlier, has anyone actually asked a question? Has anyone submitted a question for this? Will I jump into which I like? Well, the dwarf isn't going to be available until BFA. Will I do one? If I did do one, it will be a void elf, I'll grant you. Will I? I have just started a character. I could always put it on hold and do a different one. What is the number one thing I want them to say today? The number one thing I want them to do, right, is okay. So I submitted a question about what's still to come in 2018 for Legion, right? So here's what I want them to say. I want them to say, oh, there's a question here from Thete Gaming who asks, what's still to come in Legion in 2018? I want them to say, glad you asked. At round about Easter time, we're going to be bringing out a small raid and some other bits and pieces. It's going to be up on the PTR in 2 weeks. Oh, and by the way, Thete Gaming, you've got an alpha invite. It's in the post. It'll arrive tomorrow. That's what I want them to say. That's my number one wish. Possibility of it happening is not high. But, you know, we can dream. How do they fit Law's hair through the doorway? I have no idea. Maybe they have to wet it first. You're going to use your boot. Oh, I'm not. Right. Ever since they've started giving us level boosts, I always waste them. I waste them on something stupid. So I'm going to be patient this time. Every single character I've used a boost on, I've ended up deleting. Because it's stupid. So I'm going to be careful this time. I'm going to think about it. I'm just going to think about it. I still have Agramar and Argus, and at the moment we can't even kill Covenant. We couldn't re-kill Covenant this week because we just lacked the composition for it. We gave it a go on Sunday, and it was embarrassing. I mean, I say embarrassing. To be fair, it was such a crap composition. We'd have all had to play. If we could have all played well enough to have killed it with that composition, we'd be much further on in progress now. It was such a bad comp that we had, and yesterday we couldn't even pretend to have a go at it. So you know, we didn't. A small intro into BFA raid would be awesome. Yes, I actually like the idea of bridging raids. We haven't really had many of them. I mean, Sunwell Plateau sort of was, because it was sort of Burning Legion based, but it was also Blue Dragonflight based, and then that led into Malygos going a bit mad, into like Wrath of the Lich King. That was good. I like that. Yeah. Illinois annual funding per student ranges from, well, that's a lot more than we don't get anywhere near even the lower end of that. $6,500 would be, hold on, hang on, is about 0.8 pounds to $1. So that'd be like £5,200. We get about £3,000, which would be not even $4,000 per student in my college. We really get nothing. Like, it's absolutely shameful, the lack of funding we have. But as I say, worse than the poor funding is just the fact that we're told to teach them all this shit that they don't need and they'll never remember anyway. But anyway, sorry, I'm so easily baited on politics. I shouldn't have stopped. Right, okay, Legion is done. Well, it's looking increasingly likely, isn't it? You just tried to purchase a game token and put in a queue. 2,614 in line. I've never seen a queue look down to buy a token. Oh dear. And Taurus came out on the 28th of November. Today is the pre-order, 30th of January. 77 days. Is it 77 days? I thought the 77-day thing had stopped, though, because there was more than that gap between 7.3 and 7.3.5. I mean, admittedly, Christmas and BlizzCon was between the two, so that may have accounted for some of it. Oh, so there's another conspiracy now, is there? 77-day coincidence. Right, let's scroll up. See if I missed anything. People are talking about bloody schools now. So on Coven, you got 30% while ignoring the boss half the fight for ads. So, yeah. I mean, I wasn't particularly... I mean, there was a lot of downtime I had. I had Safian in the stream. He's killed it ages ago. There's a lot of downtime I have, but it's unfortunately that's how we are. Like... He queried the fact that we don't... When we're on the electricity ads, I can't remember, it's Golganoth, I can't remember. And the storm comes, I have to go into the safe zone. Because we haven't got the healing to be able to keep Melee alive at that point. Sad they posted the most important info before the actual Q&A. Well, the thing is, it was, you know, as soon as they put it in, it's data mined. If they hadn't put it in, it wouldn't be going live today. I think they obviously want to say, okay, well, this has gone live now. This Q&A isn't a Q&A. This is just a marketing thing. This is purely for the point of view of marketing, obviously. Which they all are, to be fair. But, you know, this one... I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. But 7.5 minutes. Yeah, sorry, I actually I went in game just to have a look at it. It's just that it wasn't working on my actual account. Maybe I have to log out and back in. I'm not doing that just yet. Product details, let's see now. Am I going to race change to Lightforged Dreadnought now? No, my paladin's staying human. Right, no, that's not changing. Hang on, let me just explain something again. Where is it? Oh no, not that one. Yeah, there it is. Human, Retribution, Paladin. Okay, the man himself has ordered it so, and so it will remain. That's all there is to it. So that's that, and that's how I've been ever since the start. Okay, I've just opened up a new window like in Twitch anyway. So I'm going to raid the WoW channel at the Q intake. I mean, I can be in both at once. Because, you know, we just open up a new window in your browser. So I can listen to one while I'm looking at this. So that's straightforward. As I say, I did that on BlizzCon when I had a nice bottle of wine though when it was BlizzCon. I forgot to get a bottle of wine this time. I've just got cherry coke. I did have pizza as well. Actually, I've still got some. And yes, it has pineapple on it. What, everyone keeps going on about the music. Let me have a listen to it. This will also be a good test because you shouldn't be able to hear it. I already have pizza. It's behind me. I've had enough now for now. Don't eat more just yet. No. It's the gnomes that try to disparage it. They don't understand pineapple. It's too spiky for them. A pineapple, bear in mind, is pretty much as tall as they are. You can hear it. That's awkward. Hold on. I know. Right, I know why. Do you know what? I've forgotten to change the audio settings. So that was good to test first then, wasn't it? Ah, come here. I knew I'd set something up wrong. Ah, stop. What's happened to me chat? Bugger off. There we go. Okay, that seems to be sorted. Right, you shouldn't be able to hear it now. I don't really tend to get deep, man. Oh, hold on. Music has stopped. No, it hasn't. Has it? 3.5 minutes anyway. I'll see you later then, but it is possible to do both. They're all getting oh no. Oh, all the reason memes have started in that one. I have no idea. This is just a Domino's one. People outside Chicago. I remember watching there was a Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, an American one, where he went to this place, a pizza place, where they served him like what was supposed to be deep pan pizza. It was fucking huge and absolutely disgusting. It's weird having a Q&A to announce content that streamers are already playing through. You just watch someone do the Lightforged Draenei quests. They're expensive here as well, but it's Tuesday and they have this thing called 2 for Tuesday, where it's buy one get one free on pizza. So, you know, get two. I mean, you know, at that point, when it's 2 for the price of 1, it's not that much. Yeah, the price you pay for 1 is no, not doing that any day other than a Tuesday. So, let's have a look. Who's saying anything? No one's saying anything. No one's telling me they've got an alpha invite anyway. Well, I've not got any emails from Blizzard. I don't remember what happened last time when I got the alpha. I think it just appeared on my Battle.net. I think if I remember correctly, the last time I got alpha invite, because it was on my Battle.net, so I just downloaded it, great, in. And I got an email 2 weeks later telling me, oh, by the way, you're in the alpha. It's like, yeah. Been in for 2 weeks, thanks. See you later then, Blaze. Stream starting in a minute and a half. Well, so they say. Excuse me, they're not usually on time though. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to find out anything really. other than just what they said at BlizzCon, or maybe obviously some of it will have come a bit away. What are you on about on Asmongold's stream? What's he streaming? You what? Let's have a look. What's he doing? Let me have a quick look. Oh, is he? Maybe he's got permission, because I don't think you're supposed to do it unless you got permission. Because I was going to, and then someone suggested that it is a bit naughty, and it does sort of make sense. No, I haven't seen Talisa Nevertill's latest video now. Well, they've started. I don't know. Should I? Can I? All right. All right. Well, in that case, we will. Sod it. Right. Right. Let's go on then. We'll give it a crack. Now, the sound will take a little while because let me just turn this off here and turn this on here, and then you'll have to tell me.
Process is ongoing. Yep. Obviously, there's maybe a couple of issues just due to load on the system.
I don't even I can't hear it. What the hell?
We're super excited to get this content out there to get people started and unlocking the races.
Why can't I hear it?
Yeah, the road begins.
Yeah, super exciting stuff. Awesome to finally have that out
helpful.
In players' hands and able to go ahead and pre-purchase that.
It's working sound-wise. Okay, is it?
I guess related to that. Just get information.
So if I do this, you're not hearing an echo, are you?
So the way it works,
because I can't hear this bloody thing.
If you purchase Battle for Azeroth, the next time you log in, if you buy through the in-game shop, you might have to next time you log in, if you buy log in.
So just check that there's no echo.
You'll get when you log in, so that summons you. You'll get to the embassy in either that.
Because I've had to turn it on in a separate window for me, because I can't hear it through this bloody thing. There's an echo. Shit.
And if you meet the requirements,
right, I'll tell you what. Okay. Right, if I turn that off, get off. Is there now just one set of sound?
Undertake the quest line right then and there to go ahead and unlock that allied race. One other thing. We are actively, we know that, with the 12 character limit per realm, we know that a lot of people have 12 characters, and while we were, certainly raising that limit for Battle for Azeroth itself, we'd like to get that into your hands sooner, so we're actively working
a bit quiet as well.
A little change that's going to give everybody 4 extra character slots per realm. And that's not associated with pre-purchasing Battle for Azeroth, that's just going to be a global change. Everyone will have 4 extra character slots.
Awesome.
Good.
Keep your eyes, peeled for forum and other updates, hotfix notes, and we'll get that information.
Do we need an echo? Stop. There shouldn't be an echo, there's only one source of sound now.
Count of 50.
Yes.
Correct. It's just the per realm limit.
Correct.
Is going up by 4 slots, which is awesome. Great. So we do actually have a real short video that we can look at that goes into some of the details. If you are pre-purchasing and you'd like to get started on unlocking those allied races, got a real quick video we can show you guys. Just about a minute. We'll be right back.
Right. What have we got? Okay. It's only shown off the Moose Man and the Lightforged Draenei so far. There's the 2 that no one's going to want. Head to your embassy, talk to ambassadors for traits and requirements. I already have them. Oh, hold on. So Terralion is the ambassador for the Lightforged Draenei. That's interesting. New faction map. That's hideous. Hideous. I'm not riding that bloody thing. I am not riding that, whatever the hell that was.
All right, so that is. So I know I say it like always in these. I use the phrase "that's super exciting" about 400 times for every Q&A, but I feel like today's is super exciting.
That explains how they get Law's hair into the studio anyway. They tie it all back.
I'm excited. I'm personally excited to get in there and start unlocking those allied races. So that should be super cool.
Yes.
Excellent. 2 of us, only millions to go.
They never really say how many units they sell, though, do they?
Well, as long as we're excited,
not on purpose.
I guess mission accomplished. Anyway, so let's get into these questions we've got lined up here today. Obviously, we had a lot come in about allied races just leading up to today, which is convenient. So we'll start with this first one from Patavita, who asked, how will the allied race unlocks work? Will it be an account-wide unlock? I'm exalted with the Nightfallen and would hate to grind out the rep on the Horde side as well.
That's true. I also hate playing through storylines. No, so yes, the allied race.
That's a ridiculous question. I'm sure they've already answered that before.
Make it across your entire account. The requirements are also account-wide. So
I'm pretty sure they've already said that.
Alliance characters primarily thus far. You have an Alliance character that's finished the
So first question, useless.
With the Nightfallen. You need a Horde character to unlock the Nightfallen, but you will automatically have met those requirements. And once you have a 110 Horde character, you can jump right into, unlocking the allied race across your account.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, given that there is like a little bit of a storyline about how the Nightfallen are actually coming to the Horde and so on, it would be weird to be like, I'm an Alliance character helping you join the enemy.
That would be very strange. Yes.
All right, cool. Moving on. Next question from Trivia Cow. You talked about this in the intro, but just to go through the question, will we get our extra character? I missed the moo. I'm sorry. Moo. Will we get our extra character slots with the pre-order? And as you were saying, we're actually just going to give everybody 4 extra character slots regardless.
Exactly, and that will be happening in the near future, hopefully within the next day or two.
Awesome. Moving right along, next question from Extreme, who said, the addition of allied races provides great new customization options. However, with each race added, the pool of racial abilities to balance becomes larger. Does the team consider this a possible issue going forward?
It's always something
Who's mine?
Cognizant of when we're expanding, player combat abilities, whether in any form, whether it's new skills, new talents, modifications like the artifact, legendaries, all of the above. They're extra knobs and moving pieces in a system that is challenging to balance. That said, I think with racial abilities, for some time now, for the last couple of expansions, we tried to pull back a bit on the raw power level of these abilities. I think that probably reached its peak back in Mists of Pandaria with the original form.
They are too much. And these ones, they've just ramped it up. How much louder? I need to be heard over them, unfortunately, for when I'm saying something. Apart from anything else, I'm not allowed to just, when I put this on YouTube, just play the whole thing, unless I'm adding commentary to it anyway.
To be a deciding factor. I think the big exception right now among the live racials is Blood Elf Arcane Torrent, which is just particularly, I would say, dominating in a lot of ways, frankly, in both PvP and in coordinated dungeon environments. And that's something that's not, it's not about, is this worth 1% power or whatever. Having those extra interrupts, to say nothing of the silence, is actually just fundamentally transformative in a way that it enables tactics you otherwise wouldn't have. That's a racial we are likely taking a look at.
The thing is, Fjordstorm, they say they're clueless. They're not actually clueless. This is the disappointing thing for me. They both understand the game from a player's point of view.
And it's more about flavor.
It's more, there's obviously some other reason why they have to say this.
Having a specific race or being a specific race is advantageous, but it's not the worst thing in the world as long as everyone gets their moment in the spotlight. And I think we wouldn't want to pull back from adding new flavorful abilities.
But the other problem is, as racials as flavor, I'm absolutely fine with. Racials as powerful abilities.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the new allied race.
I mean, there's two problems with it. Is you've got, first of all, you have this imbalance between Horde and Alliance, and it makes no difference anymore because there's too many people on the Horde now to ever bring it back. And the other side of it is just classes, like, because you can't have every race class combination, which is a good thing, means that you have a racial that'd be really powerful, and the classes that can play as that race will be going fantastic. And the classes who can't be going, well, that's
it's not a direct copy of that. The way it actually works is when you.
I mean, they're nerfing Arcane Torrent. That's going to have a 2.5 minute cooldown in BFA.
Tracer disc that actually moves about as fast as you, a player, would run. And that just kind of drifts forward. When you push the button again within a window of time, you port to that location. So if you're in, a tight spot, you're standing in fire or something, it's not a teleport that's going to get you out of that instantly on demand. It requires pre-planning to use. So that makes it in many ways more limited than a lot of instant teleports that can be used reactively in an emergency. But it does enable some interesting sort of tactical gameplay when you can pre-plan if you want to, You know you're going to want to go somewhere a few seconds ahead of time.
It's 1.5 minutes. Arcane Torrent has 1.5 minute cooldown at the moment. It's going to be 2.5.
Yeah, I'm just imagining in my head like some sort of like arena tournament environment where we're like.
I mean, the thing is, he talks about the fact you'd have to pre-plan to use the teleport ability. But that's the sort of thing good players do.
So that one of them could be there.
I know, I get what he says, that you can't just use it reactively.
I'm kind of geeking out about that a little bit.
But in raids in particular, planning for events that you know are going to happen is all about
who asked, why did you decide to
what makes players effective.
Races rep and achievement locked? A lot of people have been asking this question, especially since the initial data mining of allied races really started. So what's going on there?
I think it's less about the specific details of the system and more about, I think, the story and what makes them different from regular races. I think these aren't long-standing members of the Alliance or the Horde. We wanted to introduce a wider variety of new races. Again, as we talked about at BlizzCon, this was sort of our
the thing about the rep and the achievements needed to unlock them. Well, the thing is, we don't care because we're likely to have them anyway. Like, I've got them all without even trying, without even knowing I needed them. But think about a player joining the game in Battle for Azeroth. How straightforward is it for them going to be able to get it? Because it's going to be technically old content. Now, I think I remember them saying something about modifying it when Battle for Azeroth comes out to make it more accessible. But can you imagine in Battle for Azeroth telling people that what they've actually got to do is to
reputation is kind of a complement to that. It's also
to go back and do Legion stuff.
Spend a good amount of time,
you know,
working with, helping, understanding this culture before you bring them into your faction and potentially play as one. And obviously, as the requirements are something we're likely going to look back at as time goes on. We'll see.
Yeah, he said it again. They're going to change the requirements. I think they'd said that before in Battle for Azeroth. They'll likely retune the requirements.
Now, for the 4 allied races that are available.
Oh yeah, never rush to use 110 boost. I have rushed to it and acted in haste and regretted at leisure.
Makes sense. And I think it's a good point to consider as well with the allied races, just that there is a.
Wonder if it gives you legendaries. You know the answer to that. No, it will not give you legendaries.
In players' hands, hopefully they'll have a chance to see.
You'll get a god awful mount, is what you will get, and that's it.
We gave you, that story was.
You'll probably get a set of gear that's better than. Well, actually, no, you won't even get that. No, you'll get nothing.
So I think instead of playing through,
you will get a set of gear, I suppose, that'll be better than what you would ordinarily ding with. But it might not be brilliant. It might only be like 850 or something. Oh.
That makes sense. Next question here from
880 gear, do you reckon? I'm not so sure. Maybe.
Will we be allowed to access Dark Iron Dwarves and Zandalari Trolls before the release of BFA, or will this be after the?
They can't let you have Zandalari Trolls before.
So yes, I think the pre-release allied races are the 4 that were just made available today.
Yeah.
That are closely associated with Legion. Once Battle for Azeroth releases, after you're leveling to 120, going to the new lands, you will be able to begin working on the requirements to unlock future allied races, such as the Dark Iron Dwarves or the Orcs from Draenor that we've hinted at, and then.
Has he just mentioned Orcs of Draenor? Has he confirmed that now? He seems to have confirmed that Draenor Orcs are going to be one. I think that would be an obvious one to do.
Of Battle for Azeroth, our whole point in going to Zandalar is to enlist their aid, but we're going to have to solve a lot of their problems before we get to that point. That's the story.
I know. Well, yeah. So far,
that makes a lot of sense. It's similar to how the current, now that
I'm not sure to get your hopes up there.
Allied races that are available. A lot of what's going on there is you just sort of going, hey, yo, we've been.
Like I said before, it just sounds like they're just going to do this as a.
It would be weird to.
It's just a marketing thing from their point of view. They could have easily just done this as a video without having the pretense of doing it as a Q&A.
So y'all want to join the Horde? It's great.
I think if you imagine, imagine if allied races had existed in Legion as a feature from the start. High Mountain and Nightborne probably would have had similar requirements, would have played out in very much the same way, right? You would have leveled up through Legion, gotten to know these new cultures, worked with them, solved their problems over the course of, a bunch of story content, and then at the end of that journey, been able to unlock them. And so that's kind of the similar approach that we'll take with new cultures that you're meeting as we go into Battle for Azeroth and beyond.
Yeah, it's a big commitment joining the Alliance or Horde, so Got to make sure we respect.
It's not a big commitment, because what do people do?
All right, so
they
here's
go,
a
oh, there's
question
not many
that I
people on
know
Alliance.
a lot of people
I know.
are asking,
How faction changed to Horde.
Because it's about the only thing we see in Twitch chat.
I was going to say, I can't see the Twitch chat window from right here right now, but I'm sure solo queue is being spammed and has been for the last 10 minutes.
So, question here from Fix and also apparently literally everyone else. Is there any chance that we might see 3v3 or RBG solo queue in Battle for Azeroth?
Honestly, I would say unlikely. Here's why. So,
who wants to do solo queue for arenas?
We view the pre-made experience as one of the major differentiators between ranked rated PvP and solo random queue, random battlegrounds, skirmish arena. There's, to a large extent, if you could just solo queue...
Could you imagine what an awful experience?
But it very much blurs the distinctions between those two things.
Random queue arenas would be.
The more important reason, and I know a lot of people have said, well, look at other games with PvP components. Look at other genres. Look at MOBAs out there across the board. Look at Overwatch. All of these have successful solo-rated queue systems. Why doesn't that work for World of Warcraft? I think probably the biggest difference, honestly, is that in all of those other systems, where composition matters, team composition matters, cooperation matters, there's much more flexibility after the team is formed to change your composition. If you're playing a MOBA, you go through, a pick ban phase before you actually jump into the game. In Overwatch, of course, you can change your composition on the fly.
When do we expect to be a fake Q&A? I don't know.
MMORPG,
this may be how they're going to do it. This may be, because they don't usually go on for a long time. It usually lasts about 45 minutes or so.
Paladin or whatever. That is your character. That's not flexible.
This may be the sort of thing they're going to be doing.
And it's not just which compositions are viable versus which aren't, but also your tactics that you develop and how you cooperate and how you play as a certain comp or against other comps. And so I don't think it's realistic for us to offer a good matchmaking experience that also gives you a reasonable composition against fairly matched opponents.
I mean, to be fair, this particular question, I can understand how... I mean, he's explaining a reason for something, at least, that they haven't explained in the past. But it's not telling anyone anything about BFA.
And on a regular basis, getting to know arena partners or RBG partners, you improve, you cooperate, and there's a lot of depth to the game.
And there's no point in,
social level. So I think
talking about what comes with the collector's edition either. And I bet they do that, because anyone who wants to snap it straight away can already know those answers.
There's a couple of avenues we can approach there. On the RBG side,
or anyone that just reads Wowhead.
10v10 is, getting 10 people together, keeping 10 people together, particularly with some of the comp goals that you have and putting together an RBG team.
He's going on a bit. Mind you, I'll be honest, I waffle a bit at times.
Tried out some 6v6 formats.
I'm not going to criticise him for that.
Through Brawl, I feel like that has been promising, and that's something I think we're considering moving the RBG format to 6v6 for Battle for Azeroth, which should lower the barrier to entry significantly just in terms of the logistics of assembling and coordinating and maintaining a group of that size. And separately, we'd like to add and improve social tools to make it easier to find arena partners and RBG partners. I think our community system actually has a lot of potential on this front. Rather than just relying on the pre-made group finder, I don't
know why people post things in the Twitch chat on their channel, though. You never see it. It goes on 2 seconds later, it's off.
Arena community
replaced by a load of
let each other know when they're
other people writing comments.
Get to know some familiar faces in there. You can, have scheduled times when most people are going to be around if you're trying to do RPGs, whatever else, and make it easier to get those matches made. It's something where obviously this isn't an issue we consider closed. We're going to keep looking at it, keep working on it. But I think those are the approaches and those are the steps we're taking in Battle for Azeroth. And we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, it should be clear that solo queue is something we talk about a lot. I'm pretty sure I have this conversation at least once a week with somebody on the dev team. And I know that they talk about it much more than that. It's something that we've been working for a long time on trying to figure out a way to make it work for World
Well, like I said at the start, I didn't see the sense in an actual Q&A before there was new information. And there's not going to be new information until
as a Death Knight,
they've invited people to the alpha.
Fairly limited, what players would call viable comps.
Right, the alpha's been out now, or it's been implemented for days, and no one's got an invite yet.
Okay, I'm a Death Knight, and so I never want to play with a.
So until that happens, No
and
one
maybe that's
has
your personal
anything
choice or
new.
whatever. And so now it's like, okay,
And
well, now
therefore
you
don't
need
have
to do
any
this question with a
questions
discipline priest, but the only other people who
other
are
than
available
things that
don't
have
wanna
either
play
already
with a
been
resto
answered,
druid or a resto shaman.
or
So
there
now
was a
there's only,
reason
like,
it hasn't
two
been
others.
answered up
So
to now
you
because
get
they
to the
don't
point
want
where,
to.
like, already we occasionally
And they're
have
still not
issues
going to be
with
answered today.
queue times at very high
You
rating.
got them out.
This would quickly get into a point where, like, okay, I'd like to solo queue some arena. I'm 2.2k. My queue time is 30 minutes or longer, and that would be really bad. So again, it's something that we really want to be able to figure out how to make work, but as of yet, we don't have a solve for it.
Yep.
Cool. Making sure I'm not making up too much off the top of my head right there. All right. Question here from Jiraiya. And this is a question that I'm actually going to answer.
He's smiling about this. What the hell?
Who asked
More
any
PvP?
news about the arena spectator mode? And the reason we have this one in here is because we see it asked a lot, and clearly we've done a very bad job of communicating this because it's been in the game since 7.2.5.
Kind of.
So basically, the
So
way
why
it
are they
works
answering a question
is we
about content
use
that's already in the bloody game?
There's a slash command, /invite spectator match, and if you look that up, you can just Google search it, and there's a couple of guys out there that you can check it out. We need to find a better way to communicate this ourselves rather than like.
But if it's already
go to
in,
Google and
why?
search for this so that someone else can tell you how to do it. It's not the most ideal way for you to get that information. But it is out there if you use the invite spectator match command. I believe there's a couple of add-ons that help automate that process for you as well. It just comes up, and it's automatically there, and you're able to get in there and use the same arena spectator interface that we use at like BlizzCon and tournaments and so on.
Yeah, I think it was largely rolled out. I mean, it in its current form, it's definitely more of a power user tool.
Yeah,
right? It's definitely there to help with
Yes,
community
it's
run
not exactly
events,
riveting at the moment, is it?
Yeah,
but it's there.
They've interrupted my
So
weekly
if you are somebody
chat
who is considering running a
to
tournament, even if it's just a
tell
tournament
us
for a few of your guildmates or
nothing.
whatever,
Well, maybe
it is there
PvP
available
players
to
have
you.
got some new insights.
Not the greatest thing to try and use for just generally watching arena matches because of how you have to use it, but that's kind of by design as well. Question here from Glade Warden, who asked,
Another
any
PvP
plans
question.
to tweak the prestige system? The concept is great, but as it stands now, it's not nearly rewarding enough for how long the grind is.
I haven't even accessed the prestige system. I'm still working through PvP levels.
What we think
I
about
just don't
prestige and how to
PvP.
carry the prestige system forward beyond Legion.
It's the bullshit.
The answer isn't to
The meme raid before
keep adding,
BFA. Gnome, Dreadlord,
dozens
Jaina,
of new
Khadgar.
tiers
No,
with
leave. What's
new
wrong with
mounts
Khadgar? I don't want to
and
beat Khadgar
cosmetic
up.
rewards at each of them, such that when somebody
He's a
comes to the
good
game
guy.
a few years from now, they're looking at this ridiculous road ahead of them, and like, wait, there's like 80 prestige levels for me to get if I want to unlock all these rewards.
Yeah.
At the same time, we also don't want to undermine the time people have put into the system over the course of Legion. People have worked, as you note, very hard, spent a lot of time playing Battlegrounds and PvP in general to earn the rewards that are available. So I think our current thoughts, and this is still early, subject to
I'm trying
change.
to
for
read
sure,
some of the things
is
people are
to
posting on
keep
the
the
chat. I
prestige
cannot
system,
keep up. It's too
ranks
fast.
that we have from Legion.
I like to fight Odin or Helya for the third time.
Continue
Yeah,
adding
so
rewards
Odin
beyond
after the second time.
in
I was
Battlegrounds
just
and
testing you
beyond,
again.
but to have
The
those
real
ranks
test
as
is
you go
now.
further, largely just
No,
give
no,
you,
I know I said the last one was the real
similar
test,
to on
but
Resource
this
like
is the real
Overwatch
test.
give you a box or some repeatable reward at the end.
I'm pretty sure Helya's dead
Use
though, so I don't think we can
currency,
fight
whether
her
it's, figure
again.
out exactly what makes sense to go in it. And your prestige level just becomes a measure of how much you've PvP'd, how much you've invested into the system, how experienced you are overall. And there may be, some titles or some other benchmarks along the way that we give special recognition to. But again, it's very similar to that Overwatch sense and what your level means. In
Right,
Overwatch
surely
than
there can be
with
no
similar
more
systems.
PvP questions
It's not to
now.
say we're not going to keep awarding, new mounts and titles and everything else that we do through PvP, but we don't feel that the right way is to just add, an endless system there that's going to always expand and become completely unapproachable to anyone who's coming to the system for the first time.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know that the prestige system is something that I'm really interested in personally because I just like doing random battlegrounds. So it's fun to have that sort of constant progression. So any sort of improvements there sounds
exactly.
awesome.
The photo between them on the wall
I could have done it. I was playing.
looks
my
like a
shaman the
knight
other
and an
day,
elf, doesn't
sort
it?
of play
Oh,
into the
no.
meme,
But you missed the opportunity, so
I
it's too
missed
late.
it. Yeah. I was playing my shaman the other day, and I
No,
missed.
they-
I mean,
a
I
different
suppose
opportunity.
because it's
So that
that's the place where they stick something that's related to what they're talking about.
trying to meme too hard.
So I guess it's something
Question
from
here
Battle for
from
Azeroth. He's had a look
Dalaran
around his
YT, who
shoulder.
asked, will there be more updates to honor talents in BFA? Feels
How
like there
can
are a
they
lot
ask
of dead
another
talents that
PvP
just
question?
don't get picked unless you are. I forgot this question was in here. Unless you're in some very specific situation that could only be written in fan fiction.
Oh, Sylvanas with the interface. Okay.
I'm interested in
It's
what
got the same
fanfiction
nose,
you're
hasn't
reading.
It was in that moment that Sea-Doo realized.
Yeah, it's it. Yeah, I think you're right.
You're trying to get your shaman stuff back in here, aren't you? Okay, so yeah, I think honor talents definitely something that needs to evolve. This is actually something that
What percentage of players actually PvP regularly? Well, there might be quite a few. I mean, I don't understand why, because it's not a PvP game. It's very poor for PvP.
You earned honor talents that would prestige, and
I don't think that's just opinion. I think objectively, it doesn't have a lot of resources spent on PvP. It's really a PvE game with PvP in it, and yet the PvP leeches into the PvE content so much.
A bunch of talents that aren't necessarily competitive within their individual rows. It also has ended up feeling much more than
inevitably PvP players will feel left out compared to PvE. It's not a PvP game.
It feels
the
like
PvP is an add-on.
PvP until you've unlocked all your honor talents.
To the point where it annoys everyone, because it annoys PvP players because it's so limited, and it annoys PvE players because the PvP keeps costing. There's things they can't do in the PvE because it would be too overpowered in PvP. Even now that they change abilities and they have honor talents and stuff, there's still an effect.
An exact mirror of our regular talent system where we have multiple rows of 3, and instead moving to a larger bucket where there may be a couple dozen talents all in this single.
I know Talisa and Evertal were doing a video, weren't they? Saying, this is not, despite what they're saying, this is not going to be a PvP expansion. Well, I was saying that after BlizzCon as well, because they didn't announce anything at all that sounded like it was going to be adding anything for PvP players. They're just making it faction v faction, but they're not tying PvP content in with it.
The trinket's kind of special, so that's going to stand on.
So there's not going to be any PvP in BFA really either. Even some of the new ideas are just meh.
Gives us a chance to get rid of some that haven't worked out at all, that clearly are unpopular or aren't contributing to good gameplay.
The closest thing I heard to an original idea for PvP in Battle for Azeroth, and they were only saying they might do this, is the idea of bounties. So a player might get a bounty on their head to encourage other enemy players to seek them out. If they, like if you go around ganking people, you get a bounty on your head, which means you're worth a lot more to someone who actually finishes you off. Like Billy the Kid syndrome. That might be of interest. I don't know. And even then, they only said they might do it.
Course of leveling up to 110, 120, when you hit max level, you'll have access to the entire pool of talents. And even if you've never done a battleground before, you'll jump in with the same options available to you to at least customize your character and work your way up from there.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. There's lots of different ways that could play. I'm a big fan of here's a ton of options. You can only pick a couple of them from this giant list sort of approach, because it allows you to do a lot of really fun and interesting stuff with the different honor talents as well. So that I'm really excited for that.
Overall, I think
I didn't know about that.
More freedom of choice and lower barrier.
Oh my god! Don't use the word freedom of choice connected with talents ever.
Question here from
Never do that.
Back Rib, and we've obviously been talking about this a bunch already. But will there be any other PvP updates in Battle for Azeroth than the already announced world PvP changes? So we just went over a couple. Yeah, so like prestige, honor talents. Talking about that.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm doing at the moment.
A new battleground that you're going to get a preview of in Silithus coming up soon. That will be dropped.
They are not going to say anything, are they? They're not actually going to say anything of consequence yet.
I think separately on the rewards and mechanics side, we also have other changes.
I'm going to have to apologise in advance to the people that might be watching this on YouTube tomorrow, because I think this was a mistake.
For characters when you are in any sort of rated organized PvP environment, or organized PvP environment, whether rated or not.
But it's like I said, there can't be any sensible questions, or very few, because they should have had the alpha first. They should have let people report on that first.
Didn't have the latest, greatest stuff. You were at a hopeless disadvantage. And I think the way you used to gear up in PvP had some of those downsides to it. It was until you got your resilience up or whatever, you would just queue into BGs, get completely splattered, but kind of grind enough honor until you.
I'm pretty sure they're just cycling through the same. I'm pretty sure these are all the same questions, just cunningly disguised as different questions. But
we do feel like it's likely that we gave up a bit too much in terms of those RPG dynamics that still underlie what this entire game is and what this environment is. And that we can find ways of making item level a bit less important in PvP.
Have they said about what's coming after Antorus?
Customize their gear.
No.
You've actually taken
I haven't said anything about that.
Level scaling
whether they will, I mean, we have got to wait. This usually lasts 3/4 of an hour, these things. It usually is about how long they last. But they have said nothing about content that we didn't already know. They haven't actually said anything about content, actually, come to think of it.
That logic in a different way to PvP combat.
Of any kind, whether it's BFA or otherwise.
Gear still matters. Gear still has the stats that you want. If you want to stack crit, you can stack crit. If you want to stack...
I mean, everyone who's watching it live, to be fair, is perfectly happy with it, because it's been fairly stable on 69,000 viewers watching it. So it might just be me that's annoyed, but you know.
Because of how the combat calculations work out. And I think that could get us the more compressed tuning range. Because I think for...
But maybe that is just because, like us, we're just hoping that at some point they give us some information to talk about, like, because there's nothing for me to talk about here.
And you need to gear up, and maybe you're not as good as Method, but when you get to this boss, 3 months in, you're going to have...
Well, it's the only way anyone's going to be able to say anything and it'd be read, because anyone trying to post in the Twitch channel, the Blizzard's Twitch channel, the Warcraft one,
but not to the point that
there's no chance it's just flying up.
Because you haven't yet
flying up.
And so, keeping customization, still controlling power, and what this also means is that it maybe lets us go back to some more familiar and perhaps successful systems of delivering PvP loot through things like vendors and giving you more control over the gear and what stats you want in a world where...
See, I'll start to read a sentence in one of these statements or questions that's been asked in the Twitch chat, and it just disappears.
Yeah, I remember a lot of, like in the Mists and to some degree in Warlords as well, actually to a fairly strong degree in Warlords as well, there was a lot of discussion around, like, I like to play my mage stacking this, I stack mastery on my arcane mage, no, I stack a crit or something like that instead. So it's really, really cool to see that sort of gameplay coming back to PvP. I know a lot of players have been asking for that as well. Question here from eroll64300 on Twitter, who asked, "How will the world?"
Are they kidding me? Are they actually kidding me?
Servers will be separated between PvE and PvP status.
Oh, the word PvE
will all
was
PvP
used.
players from every server be on the same instance, or will it be separated as it is now? We've had lots of different questions since we started talking about this at BlizzCon. In terms
the main question I have on that is when is it coming?
What the new?
Because I was hoping it would come with the last patch.
So could we get some clarity on how that's going to work?
I mean, so when you enable this mode,
on
you venture out, you'll go to Orgrimmar, you'll go to Stormwind, you'll toggle it on. When you go out into the world, you'll be in a PvP-enabled version of the world with other players who've made that same decision. Now, obviously, not literally all players across an entire region can fit in the exact same instance of the zone. Otherwise, that would crash our servers and not be the greatest experience. But so they're still shards. But on the PvP side of things, we're able to...
what's the picture? It appears, as someone said earlier, to be a picture of... Basically, Ian Hazakostas' face photoshopped into Sylvanas. So it's like a, thingy merge. It's like one of those face swappy things, I think.
99% forward in North America, or you're on...
but with colour, obviously, colour blended in with the colours. So basically, yeah, it's Sylvanas. If Sylvanas had Ian Hazakostas as a father.
Satisfying is our ability to construct the shard balance in that way. And now, the one exception to this will be RP servers. So shout out to Emerald Dream and other folks in similar boats out there. RP servers will still continue to follow the existing RP server rules, where there is no involuntary sharding or coalescing.
Silver Costas, yes.
Group across servers.
Oh, that's a good name for a character, actually.
But if you turn on this mode on Emerald Dream, when you go out into the world, you'll see people from Emerald Dream specifically, and not random other servers mixed in.
Will it still on the RP servers? Will it still allow you to pick between the PvP mode and PvE mode
of course.
when you go out in the world?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. That's exactly. Yeah. So really, what we're saying is, in Battle for Azeroth and beyond, rather than having 4 server types like we do today, we're going to have 2 server types. It's going to be normal and RP. And on both of those types, you can opt into PvP, and that exists as it always had. But we don't.
Oh, in other words, they're just getting rid of PvP servers.
Because
Good.
you're on this server, you're forced into this mode, or you're on that server, you're forced into that mode.
Now all they have to do is come up with some situation where you're not forced to be in the tiniest faction.
Really, as it stands,
with neutral factions for PvE.
And the ability to really build infrastructure and content behind it in a way that we couldn't when we knew that on PvE servers across the region, that content was not going to be accessible or make sense.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I've played on PvP.
Yeah. Oh my God! You were just about to start a question, then you start waffling again.
And that's
Shut
because
up.
I enjoy that sort of like risk of being out in the open and someone might come out and try and attack me. But every once in a while, I'm just like, I just want to get my world quest done.
Well, mega servers would be a great idea. I don't know what they'd think about that from the point of view of making money with realm transfers, however.
I guess I'm on a PvE server.
What do you mean I can't kill these people?
You know, I mean, who comes up with that idea? Oh, by the way, we've got a great idea to...
Actually, this ties in directly with what we were just talking about. Is it possible that we could get a server where all cross-realm features, including sharding, are disabled?
So RP, I mean, roleplay servers
RP again.
work kind of like this in that we, except in the cases of extreme load, we disable these features involuntarily. That is to say, we're not just going to randomly split you up without your control across.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't expect much. I have to say.
The exception to this
I really didn't expect much.
Events in times of high traffic.
Yes.
When we launch Battle for Azeroth.
But it's still not anything to get excited about. Yes, it is.
Around one of a couple of NPCs to kick off the expansion. We are going to shard the cities in that specific case so that the servers don't crash, you don't have terrible lag, and you have a smooth launch experience. But we always view those as temporary changes, with the default state being default sharding.
No new content questions in the first half an hour.
It's not completely disabled in the sense that
if this is anything like previous ones, it's only got about 10-15 minutes left.
We don't have a server where there is no cross-realm group finder or the ability to party for world quests. Or
I have no idea about technical issues with sound.
That's been floated in the past as the concept of like a pristine realm.
Well, I think Six Skeptics, they've stopped with the PvP now.
Not something we currently have any plans on doing. I think
at least the question wasn't PvP specific.
The ability to play with your friends wherever they may be trumps the benefits of those restrictions. But for roleplay communities, having them off by default.
He's just said the ability to play with your friends should trump other situations. That means that I should be able to join a Horde guild as an alliance character. That's what he's just said, isn't it? That's exactly what he's just said. I shall hold him to that.
Except for what you were talking about. Nothing that's going to really force you into it otherwise. Cool. Next question here from Warfist. Asking what are the rewards of the new Uncharted Islands, and will they scale like Mythic Plus Dungeons? So we talked at BlizzCon a little bit about islands and the different sort of difficulty modes for it. How does that translate into how the rewards will work?
So I think we're still figuring out the details of the rewards. I think
it's exactly what they said at BlizzCon, which is fair. They should still be considering the rewards because they're not actually openly testing it yet.
But also,
we know everything about PvP and RP. Oh, I bet we don't. I'll bet there's still another. I like to think they've just lumped all the PvP questions together.
But with the increasing difficulty, probably much like other reward systems in our game, some powerful gear, more powerful gear on higher difficulties. Details to follow as we kind of dial in the exact tuning of those reward systems in our alpha.
Okay.
Always mention alpha.
From Death Leecher, who says, do warfronts take some elements from Warcraft RTS, like building units and being able to use them?
They answered that at BlizzCon.
When we first started talking about warfronts, we sort of
pre-order is out. You can buy it now.
Yeah, this is kind of trying to take that sort of
people have already bought it
and bring that into World of Warcraft. To what lengths does that go, I guess?
It's definitely very heavily inspired from Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3 RTS elements, everything from buildings to units to resources. But at the same time, it's trying to tell that story and ground that fantasy in an MMO wrapper. And so when you say being able to use them, no, you don't get to build, train grunts or footmen and control them literally RTS style. By
the title of the Q&A is Battle for Azeroth Live Developer Q&A.
If you got to play as the hero on that map. So in many ways, you
can't add payment options.
Clearing creep, you might be bringing resources back to your base. contributing them to help upgrade your town hall to level 2.
But I don't think you'll be able to sue under the
trades
Trades Descriptions Act because they're not charging for it.
And when you train that unit type, which you can do, they will just follow you into battle or charge off towards an objective, but you're going to be the one leading them towards the front lines to take over an enemy encampment and build your way forward.
In that case, maybe people haven't bought it
very
yet.
heavy inspiration,
But it's supposedly available.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure someone said they
switch
bought
into
it.
a top-down, clicking around
it is core World of Warcraft combat mechanics.
Okay.
With very heavily RTS-inspired systems.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I imagine that's probably what most people were expecting after what we were talking about, but it's good to get the clarification. Question from Mad Max, who asked, during BFA, can Horde characters visit Kul Tiras and Alliance characters visit Zandalar?
They've said that.
Will there be
I can answer this question. You level up on your respective continents, and at level cap, you go to either for the world quests.
Zandalar is the leveling experience for the Horde. Kul Tiras is the leveling experience for the Alliance, and then it sort of crosses over once you reach max level. But how does that actually work?
They said all that at
BlizzCon. So the answer is yes.
Or did I just say
questions?
everything?
Pretty much. So I think the glue here is what we alluded to at BlizzCon. We're calling the War campaign. In many ways, it's the successor to the Garrison campaign or the Class Order campaign. As you level up, the chapters of the War campaign are largely going to be themed around journeying with the opposite factions, subcontinent, finding what they're up to, understanding what they're up to there, building up a little bit of a stronghold, foothold, a small base of operations.
Oh yeah, someone actually did say about Q.
Future activities. This will also introduce you to the zones, introduce you to the
don't need it right now.
There, help explain and give you some motivation.
Not many people have finished all the content yet.
Go into the dungeons that you're finding there. Then at 120, yes, the whole thing opens up.
No, they might say something interesting. They waited for their last ever question. The last question is going to be my question, where they say they give the answer, and then they say my alpha invite is in the post.
It's like the leveling experience is sort of like, let's go to this new area.
There's no summary video. This is the summary video.
Let's go to this new area.
I want to do another one based on this.
People that live in this new area. And then maybe make a couple of like.
Barely going to even talk about it. I might mention it in WoW Flash tomorrow.
Like, okay, whoa, the war is here. Let's go fight.
Some of that, or just scouting and understanding. Okay, what are the Alliance up to? What's going on in Stormsong? And yeah, like you said, are there some people here who might be sympathetic to our cause and building up a sort of secluded, beachfront cove base that can serve as a staging ground for later on? That's just one example of many.
Okay, cool. Question here from Ranthe, who asked, in the dev water cooler, it was mentioned that you want to return a lot of class and spec-specific benefits and abilities, a la CC availability and the like. How will this be balanced in order to avoid class stacking? And I know we've seen a little bit of this through data mining over the past few days, but talking a lot about the class and spec-specific benefits, how are we actually going to prevent that from turning into bring the class, not the player?
We're not always going to. Sometimes you should bring the class. Like,
fair enough.
Seriously, like if you're a pug leader and you
he's come up with his bullshit answer before.
3 mages and 3 hunters and 0 warlocks, and you have 3 applicants for a spot in your group, and one's a hunter, one's a mage, one's a warlock. There should be compelling reasons to want to bring the class that you don't have.
No, there shouldn't.
So to some extent, I think it's the opposite of class.
That absolutely shouldn't.
The goal here is actually to encourage a wide diversity of class and spec representation. I think the most successful RBG groups.
Well, the purpose of it is to hype up BFA and obviously to sell the pre-orders. That's the purpose of it. It's marketed, but it's always marketing. It's just that they usually say interesting things as well.
And multiple people are bringing, or too many people are bringing this exact same tools.
It was, yes. This was a question with the answer, but it's the same answer he's given before, so you wouldn't expect anything different.
But one of them also brings the best AoE DPS, or one of them has the best AoE stun of the group, and so you just bring a lot of them. There's no downside to that. Whereas if it's more like you're just trying to cover all your bases, then there's offsetting strengths and weaknesses that make a better, more balanced, more effective whole. That's ideal. And then obviously in smaller groups, there's some trade-offs. You can't have everything. If you're trying to make a dungeon group, there's different tools, different buffs.
You can't have everything in a mythic raid either.
Regardless of what you do. And so your gameplay changes a little bit depending on whether you have a rogue who can help you skip past a pack, or whether you have
I've already had my say on what I think about that.
Crowd control, or warlock for a gateway, or other tools that you might have. And that's kind of cool too. It's varied gameplay. It makes individual class abilities feel and play out in a more impactful way. So that said, it's also incumbent upon encounter design, other parts of the game to create situations that make those tools and those abilities valuable.
Okay,
You know,
so
obviously,
that
everybody
is
has different
interesting.
tools. One class is
I'm glad he said that bit at least, because that's the only way it works.
while other
When the
classes
class design team have to make
defense,
your utility
then
useful.
That's not actually, you know, we're not actually going to be.
But I still want to know whose responsibility it
It's
is to make
actually
sure
really
that
interesting
happens.
thinking about how the bring the player, not the class sort of mantra has evolved things. Since
Classes
basically
always have
Burning
unique
Crusade when it
ability.
first came in and you were stacking like
Every
5
single
times.
class has unique ability now. It had it last expansion, the expansion before. Every expansion, every class has unique utility. It's just that quite a lot of it is worthless. Like you get some classes who have utility that is useful in every encounter. It's useful in dungeons, it's useful on trash dungeons, dungeon bosses. Every single raid encounter, it's useful. And then you have some people's utility that's useful once or twice in the whole expansion. It's almost never used. It gathers dust. It's that little used.
It was all of that stuff.
That's where the issue is. And if the one or two times it's useful is on a boss where it actually doesn't matter that much, it makes it a bit easier, but you know what, the boss is easy, then it's worthless.
An extra, I don't know, an extra rogue, because they have a great tool that
Put
will help
one
us
shot every
with
boss
counter.
disbanded because you couldn't find
But
DK.
there isn't room in the melee group for them.
Well, that's the downside. He's saying, yeah, because he's saying you should have a compulsion to bring every class. Why should you?
They're not actually
Because it's all right him saying, all right, you don't have any hunters, and what happens if you've got a warlock, a mage, and a hunter in the your pug queue? Well, that's fine. But what if you don't have a bloody hunter in the queue? If you don't have any hunters in your raid, and there's no hunters in the queue, then you're going to do without a hunter, and you've gimped yourself. For what reason? What fucking reason? Pardon my French. And he should know better. And he did know better, because I did a video last year or year before, I think it was last year, where I found some of the things he used to say as a raider before he joined Blizzard, and it's completely his philosophy then completely at odds with now. And a load of people going, oh well, you can change your mind, can't you? I thought it was a bit of a bloody coincidence, changing your mind as soon as you actually start working there. It's just a case of going native for me.
DPS class especially to apply to a group, and you feel like you just get turned down 5-6 times in a row. The experience on the flip side, though, is often when someone has tanks and healers and they're posting, availability for a group, they'll instantly get 20.
Because the problem is as well,
for 2 slots.
We're never going to be able to assess, because he says it's going to be incumbent upon the class design team to make sure that the buffs are useful. All right. Well, also the encounter design team. Right. The problem is that we are not going to be able to judge that until we see the encounters, and we don't see the encounters until very late on in the cycle, when it's too late to do anything about it. Like, it's all right, I might say, for example, well, Blessing of Protection is not very useful because virtually all the fatal damage in raids is magic damage. It's almost never physical damage.
It's easy for things to...
And I can carry on saying that. But then for all I know, there's going to be a load of fatal physical damage mechanics in BFA raids, in which case, Blessing of Protection all of a sudden is going to be really useful.
How much you're healing is, to the point where guilds will be like, sorry, you're not an Affliction Warlock.
So you can't even debate it during the testing period, because they could just turn around and say, well, we'll make it useful. And then they might not. And then where are you?
It's a shorthand.
Pain in the ass. Will be hard to find those light forged affliction warlocks.
And all the damage. Yeah.
But no king rules forever.
Oh dear. All right. Next question. That got terrifying there for a second. Very ominous. Question here from Deliaris, who said, in the water cooler you mentioned class utility and identity, then talk about specs and main roles,
I'm glad he's picked on that.
Will BFA have more class-wide utility? So obviously
that's a good question.
Quite a bit, but looking at class-wide utility and not necessarily something that...
Because it shouldn't be spec. Utility should be for classes, not specs. Then they can talk about class fantasy.
I think so, yes. I think, again, looking back to the lessons of Legion and some of the philosophies that have come out of its development, we focused a lot on class identity, but I think that too often we probably over-prioritized spec identity at the expense of class identity. And that... you're not just a subtlety rogue, you're also a rogue. You're not just a fire mage, you're also a mage. At the end of the day, that's what you picked at character creation when you decided you wanted to make the class. And where possible, there should be more class-wide strengths. Now, there's some limits there. I think when you have hybrids, there are some tools that...
Hybrids? Oh, no, there's no hybrids.
Keep closely wedded
No.
roles. Like
No such thing as hybrids.
Cooldowns, for example. We want... You'd have to be a Restoration Shaman to have that, or a Holy Paladin to have that. That's a core role function. And I think in the past, when you had things like Hybrid Tranquility and other much more effective Ancestral Guidance, etc., you actually saw, in a lot of ways, DPS utility eat away at the core functionality of being a healer. And, in Mists of Pandaria, they just had a lot of cooldown
don't agree with
that let you under-heal fights drastically and made the healer's job feel much less important. We don't want
that never happened.
Utility in a way that stops
or no more than it does now.
Right. When we're talking
no
about
more than it does now.
Tools of who is great,
because there are situations now when you'll drop down to 3 healers.
Has
and go up to 5,
like,
and that happened before.
Spell Steal to Death Grip to whatever else. Those are things that should feel like all members of a class can bring and contribute that.
That makes sense. Yeah, like if you're.
But at least he seems to be suggesting that actually utility should be class-wide.
At the moment, that feels
again, I'm going to push that very hard and make sure that is true.
I'm all about the shadow. I changed my mind. Now I'm all about the light, and I hate the shadow. But I'll change my mind again a little bit later when I want to do some world quests or something. So yeah, it's interesting to hear going back more in the direction.
Oh, be quiet! Shut up.
Class being a class.
Just answer the questions, or ask the questions.
Question from You Done Now, who said, "With Legion, many classes were redesigned around the artifact and its traits. How are you planning on keeping all classes interesting if you're only planning to keep a few artifact abilities and traits?"
I knew there'd be some nice questions.
So I don't know that it's completely accurate that the classes were redesigned around the artifact.
Sure.
I think the classes were redesigned and artifacts were layered on top of them.
Well, no, I mean, Revival is a healing spell. Although you could argue, right, if all paladins get Lay on Hands, why shouldn't all monks get Revival? Why shouldn't they?
Was informed by the artifact being present, but they weren't that inextricably intertwined. I think the model that we're looking at is one where there's a baseline, a core set of abilities and tools that a class has. Then there's enhancements that you get from external sources. It wasn't just artifacts, right? It was artifacts, set bonuses,
I think he
legendaries, trinkets, racials. And I think the main system where these things are going to live in Battle for Azeroth is Azerite armor. So you'll have at least 3 pieces of armor that you're wearing, with the ability to customize your character accordingly, with and some of the sorts of things that might have been artifact traits may find a home in this system. Literally not one-for-one mappings, but that type of effect, the sorts of things that are going to add depth and customization to your characters.
I mean, that one, Diablo, doesn't matter as much because, remember, they'll retune the abilities. It's where an artifact ability does something very different.
At max level because of 5 points.
I think the Affliction one, bear in mind, the main ability, like you say, it doubles the effectiveness. Well, they'll just tune those abilities around that without needing it, won't they?
The plan isn't, and that isn't just to pull them out and say, all right.
WoW did indeed start without limit. Well, that's because spec didn't mean what it does now. Spec was just whatever you spent most of your talent points in, but there was no restriction. You were only a ret paladin if you happened to spend 31 points in ret, or at least 30.
There was definitely a bit of, making some room for fitting this extra artifact active ability in, or making sure that you weren't, GCD locked once you had the benefit of the traits. Now, those constraints aren't maybe.
Will they buff legendary chances?
Yeah, like I'm just sort of as you're
haven't said so.
About playing my mage.
I think they should.
Not my shaman, sorry.
But I don't think they will.
And how.
Because 7.3.5 was really recent.
Like one of the most important abilities, you need to be using that constantly. Whereas Mark of Alaneth, well as Arcane, yes, it's a very important ability, and you should be using it as often as possible. If suddenly Mark of Alaneth went away, I would just be like, all right, well, it's one less button to push every minute. But if Phoenix's Flames goes away, all of a sudden I'm like, how does my rotation even work?
Right, and so the answer there maybe A, your rotation needs to change, but B, if that's central enough, as it was, we want to make sure that people who like that gameplay still have the option to take that. It's likely going to find its home in talents for fire mages, for those who want it. It's also important to bear in mind, I know it's easy to lose track of this at this point.
Well, it's very difficult to say whether abilities have gone down or not because, remember, there's a bit of a squish in there as well. It's just an overall rebalancing.
With the Heart of Azeroth and Azerite armor in in BFA.
Yeah,
you
I'm
made
not a fan of
the
essences.
all the decisions around your artifact in September 2016, right? You earned all that stuff.
Well, Olga, so how many bank slots are you going to need to hold your legendaries? I hope they're going to introduce a legendary tab like the heirloom tab, because if they don't, then they're arseholes. That's all there is to it. But no one seems to be asking that yet. Actually, to be fair, I didn't ask them that, but I knew they wouldn't answer it.
Whereas the artifact, in some ways,
I have asked it in the past, though. I asked it for. I think that was one of my questions for BlizzCon.
Move on from and get something else in its place. We never would have designed the artifact system the way we did if we were approaching it from the perspective of all of these things are going to carry forward and become baseline parts of the class. If anything, in the past, I think we've spoken about how we regret a lot of homogenization and bloat that's come out of past expansions where we added 3 new abilities, 5 new abilities, not because classes needed them, but just for the sake of hitting those targets of, okay, everybody's got to have 5, let's come up with 5. The artifact was never about giving everybody 20 new passives and a new active.
No, I think an annex to the heirloom tab would work, so you can actually create the character. That way they could also make it account bound as well.
That was going to be left behind and replaced.
That would be nice.
New and different and also exciting.
Cool. Question here from Jorthas, who asked, are we going to see a lot more in-depth rework for Survival Hunter? It currently feels extremely difficult to play with minimized reward and isn't.
It's not a minimized reward. If you can play it well,
it's good. In the water cooler, I believe, we were talking about how, whereas obviously Legion and Warlords before it had a lot of very major changes to how classes worked. We're trying to not do that so much for Battle for Azeroth. I believe Survival Hunter is one of the exceptions there. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. Survival's seeing a pretty significant rework. Definitely some hints of that in some of the data mining that's been out there circulating so far. This is actually another example.
Yeah, I would like an account-bound bank, and yes, it would have to be realm-specific. So when I talked about this ages ago, everyone was going, no, you can't have that because then you'll just trade between realms. And it's like, no. Like, other MMOs have it, and it's obviously bound to the realm. That's a given. But yes, an account-bound bank bound to the realm as well is the next logical step in storage technology.
That was, I think, a step too far. I think we got a bit too caught up in the fantasy of, all right, you have the ranged sniper, you have the close-up melee combatant, and they were almost starting to feel like 2 different classes rather than sides of the same class that more heavily accentuated one element or the other. And so I think the new Survival is likely to have a better balance of melee and range capabilities. They will still be, uniquely the melee hunter, but they're still going to be a hunter, and that's important.
Yeah.
And then, yes, there's also these details about the flow of the rotation, risk-reward, all of that are, I think, being addressed separately from...
You're still severely limited in what gold you can transfer with realms, aren't you? You're like limited to $250,000, so you have to just basically buy things, take it with you,
in the coming weeks
and then try and sell it at not too much of a loss.
Question here from Moiren, who asked, is the removal of blink-type movement talents from Shaman and Druid on early BFA data mining one of the results of the focus on class uniqueness you mentioned in your blog post, or just an isolated pruning, the dreaded P word?
Probably the former. I think, there's
probably
you describe them as blink-type movement talents is actually kind of telling, right? Because that's a mage ability, and that's where this all began. That's a core mage functionality, and thinking about it,
hang on, it says though that instant teleportation is an instant mage utility, but they're giving it to a race. It's been made a racial. And it already sort of has, because goblins get the jump thing, don't they? Which is very similar.
They can have bursts of speed to help. It's not that only mages can have movement abilities. No one else should be mobile. Of course, there should be other movement abilities, but in terms of the exact flavor of how it presents itself,
survival is absolutely, it's very likely the most difficult spec to play very well. I agree. But if it is played very well, it is good.
You can just move faster. Ghost Wolf and Travel Form, Cat, those are more.
No, I would say even with the feral changes,
is appropriate for those classes as opposed to, I think, frankly, just a very loosely.
He did say it wouldn't be. Yeah, he said you have to plan for it, but it's still a teleport. It's still basically a blink. It's just one you have to plan for.
Blink is super fun. no question that it's a fun ability to have. No question.
But that's fine. I mean, I'm a PvE player. You can plan. That's how That's how you step it up in PvE, by planning ahead.
Hooray! Finally, it's gone. Yeah.
Though for those of you who are,
I mean, for PvP, fair enough. But for PvE,
not too much changes.
And as I say, goblins have the thing anyway. Goblins have the jump forward, don't they? Which is why everyone was goblin. Every horde player that could went goblin for like mythic Doofer, Kill Jaden.
To be weaker all around. They're too strong. We're making them weaker. We'd rather double down on strengths.
Oh no, they never take stuff away from warriors. No, that's not how it works.
And feel strong, potent.
Like for all their talk, for example, of
rather than just copying.
Healers should have all the raid-wide defensive cooldowns. Well,
one more question.
So they took them all off DPS.
I'd like to answer this one.
Except warriors. Warriors kept theirs.
This question comes from
and then Demon Hunters got one as well.
Any thoughts on Titanforge?
No, they have said a couple of interesting things, which I'm going to remember and point out at various points during the alpha.
Crucial item slot for a lot of classes and specs. We've gotten tons of feedback about Titanforging and warforging, especially if we've gotten later in Legion. And I think a lot of people are now
Titanforging till the end.
My artifact weapon is going away. I'm going to be using regular weapons again. What does that mean with Titanforge? Am I going to get like a plus 80 Titanforged weapon and become a god? Like, is that the sort of thing that's going to happen, or is that something that we're keeping an eye on?
No, that only happens to the player who only runs LFR once ever. That's who gets the plus 80 Titanforged.
Yeah.
No. So yes, this is a great question.
Yes, it is.
Point. I think, we've heard a lot of feedback on Titanforging on the variants, and oh my god, this is a horrible injustice. Look at this person who has a plus 45 eye level Titanforged item. This is better than what I have as a Mythic Raider, and it's not fair that more harder content is not being properly rewarded, etc., etc. I think one of our core responses to that throughout has always been that it all averages out in the long run. The LFR Raider who has
it doesn't average out in the long run.
Helm,
that's actually
LFR gear and
not true.
Their average character power isn't meaningfully improved. Slightly improved. It's an awesome excitement for that player, but at the end of the day, people doing the hardest content.
He hasn't said no.
Gear. Weapons definitely threaten to disrupt that a bit because. Yes, not all slots are equal.
He's recognizing that weapons are more important.
Two-handed axe that could actually, suddenly vault you ahead of, like, literally a tier forward in some ways in terms of performance.
Yes.
That's probably a bit too much.
Oh.
So our current thinking here, this isn't 100% final. Current thinking is to not let weapons Titanforge, to let them Warforge, so maybe plus 5, plus 10.
That'll do.
Warforged,
fine. We're okay with Warforged.
Preserve some clear tier distinctions in terms of.
I don't think he did say it, unless it was one of these things where someone heard him say it, but I didn't see any recorded stuff of him saying that. He said it for Azeroth armor, but not weapons that I heard of anyway. But at least he said it now.
Armor slots will not be able to Warforge or Titanforge at all. Those items are complex enough already.
You have one mythic Imanar kill and have 985 legs. I have about 6 or 7 Imanar kills, and I have no legs. Okay, I have legs, but I'm not wearing any armor around them.
Clear upgrades or side grades.
Yeah, I mean, it was the obvious thing. Weapons couldn't. But the thing is, I've discussed this so much about the weapons thing, and no one has before this said, "Oh, didn't they say not at BlizzCon?" So I'm guessing if he did say it at BlizzCon, it was an unverified, off the camera, off recording comment, because otherwise someone's bound to have told me, "Oh, he said it at BlizzCon." But at least he said it now. He's at least said it now. No, there were a couple of good things he said in there, which I need to hold him to. He did say it's not definite on the weapons thing, so I'm guessing some people are still arguing behind the scenes. But so no Titanforge weapons, good. Also saying that utility should be class-wide, not spec-wide, with a small number of exceptions for where something has to be healer only. That, again, is important.
If it doesn't Titanforge, it's not going to be worth using. That's a problem.
But it has to be true.
It's reliable enough that you feel like you should go farm something that was a year-old content because it's realistic that you could get a good Titanforge on it, and thus it becomes an obligation. That's also not great.
All right, well, that's all the time that we had, so thank you very much, Ian, for being here and answering these questions.
Wow.
My pleasure.
As always, has been an absolute blast. Battle for Azeroth pre-purchase is now live, so definitely go and check that out. Get access to unlocking the allied races. Really super fun stuff to do there, and you can get your hands on.
No, we said Alpha once, but didn't really talk about it.
Already met a lot of the requirements, which I imagine a lot of people who are watching this probably already have. So definitely go and check that out. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for all these questions that came in, and we will see you guys next time.
Sounds great. I'm gonna go level my allied race.
Nice. See you.
All right, good. Finished. Right. Hi, Cliffado. Well, so to my mind, the three things that I latched on from there that are of interest to me are, one, we'll go in reverse order, I suppose, no Titanforged weapons. Good. Two is that there's not, that they're going to have the class-wide utility, and they're only going to have it to an individual spec if it's role, where it's something that really has to be a healer thing. That's what they said there. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, the other one, that it's incumbent upon the class design team to make sure that the utility is useful for encounters. They've got to make sure it's useful. That one is the one that I'm going to have to keep pressing them on, or ask other people to press them on. Because, as I say, if I don't get into the alpha, then I need to press gang other people. I'll cause even more trouble if I don't get in, actually. Like I said at the start, if I get in, I will cause less trouble than if I don't get in. Because if I don't get in, I've got more time to cause trouble. Now, well, we've got to remember with Ian Hazakostas, of course, these Q&As are very much his idea. They didn't exist before he became assistant game director. They were always his thing. He very much took the view that there should be more communication with the player base. But I just wish they would change their philosophy on certain things. So this idea about, you should be encouraged to bring a particular class. The problem is, if that class isn't available to you, then you're punishing that group for not having it. It's not a case of encourage. Like, why should you encourage? Like, if you've got in your queue a warlock, a mage, and a hunter, or whatever the combination he said, why should you bring the one you don't have? You bring the one that you think is going to do best for your group as a player. It's how it should be. Anyway. You wonder if he truly holds internal power. The title is just like, as heads of each department run their own shows. No, I think he will have the authority, but I've worked in different places before. I know the situation. The hierarchy doesn't always work, because sometimes you will get people who maybe don't have any authority at all, or exceed their authority because they're more influential, and they will talk around either just by boring them to death or being very persuasive or whatever, and they will basically be able to exercise more power than they technically have the authority for. So there can certainly be some of that going on. I don't know whether there is or not, because I don't know what it's like internally there. But that could easily be the case, just based on how I've seen workplaces work in places I've worked. You wish they'd discuss raiding more in that. Well, inevitably then they'd have to explain if there's going to be another raid still to come. It is now looking like even less likely. It's now even less likely. Still not impossible. I don't know. Quite a poor Q&A. Most of it was, wasn't it? It didn't get exciting until the end. And no, they didn't say much we didn't already know. Indeed. In fact, they didn't really say anything we didn't know as such, apart from the Titanforging of weapons. But they did at least clarify a few things that I want to hold them to. So I'm still pleased that he said those few things. But yeah. How much confidence does the player base have with the outcome of betas when they see comments ignored and have to fix stuff some weeks later? The issue is, Organo, that the player base doesn't really get involved. To be fair to Blizzard, the player base does not get involved early enough. Like, I could see it. I've sort of noticed it in previous betas, but Legion was the first beta, although they called it alpha to begin with, where I had a real input. Because obviously I was doing the channel at the time. It was quite new, but I was doing it. So I had a real proper discussion with members of the community. But what was very noticeable, now just to, again to give a paladin example, sorry, but the same, you can see the same examples with other things as well. So there was a particular ability called Greater Blessing and Might for Retribution Paladins, and the way it worked in the alpha made it sound like it was quite powerful and would guarantee Retribution Paladins a raid spot, but that was clearly not how it's intended. Then Blizzard posted in the alpha forums how it was intended to work, but it's not how it was working, because it was extremely complicated to implement in the way they said. I didn't even think they could, all right? And they still couldn't. It didn't actually work as it ever was supposed to. But I'm not going to get into the details of that, because not everyone's here is a paladin. So and I did a video on it saying people have got to go into the forums and say this is going to be a really bad idea, this is terrible. But the problem was that very few people did, because, and then it didn't help, bloody Preach, pain in the ass, he did a video saying about how Greater Blessing and Might was working in the alpha, but he hadn't bothered, he hadn't read the post. Of course he hadn't, because he's not a Retribution Paladin. So he just looked at how it was working in the beta, and he said, oh, it's going to work like this, it's going to be fantastic, blah, 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 blah. And I'm watching this video going, no, it's not going to work like that. I even posted a comment in it. So and they didn't actually implement it to make it work how they'd said months earlier it was going to work, until beta was nearly finished. I'm not insulting him, I'm just saying he said this. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault, but he was basing on it how it was in the alpha. He hadn't read all the stuff that Blizzard had said about Ret Paladins. I wouldn't expect him to. He can't possibly know in detail 36 specs. That's ridiculous. So, but what I'm saying is his message gets out to a lot of people, and it completely undermined the whole thing. So by the time they implemented it like it was going to work, it was very late on, too late to change it. And then people did start saying how terrible it was, but it was too late. I mean, yes, they got rid of it, and they got rid of it within a few months of it going live. But if they'd have had that input from the community half a year earlier, it would never have appeared in the first place. It would just never have been there. And that's the sort of thing I'm thinking. Like, I'm not... You know, I tried to say in a video, I did a video on Saturday, I'm not trying to say the sky is falling. Like, there'll be lots of people playing classes that are noticing nerfs to various abilities. You know, rogues are getting an increased cooldown on their Cloak of Shadows. They're getting what is it? Am I right in this? They're getting a cooldown on Feint. Okay. Different classes are noticing various bits of utility are changing, being removed, being nerfed. You know, those sort of things might well be okay, but if there can be one or two things that you just know as an expert in your class or spec that are not going to work. You just know they're not going to work. And as a result, you know, those players need to galvanize the rest of that player base, and you need to... One person making a really detailed post and explaining with logic why something isn't a good idea is worthless. 1,000 people on a forum going "Ree" is way better feedback for Blizzard than one person posting a detailed post with maths and logic. The one person, worthless feedback. The 1,000 people, that's 1,000 people. It's as simple as that, which is not right, but that's how it is. That is actually how it is. Yeah, the Displacer Beast. I mean, I think that's a shame. I'm all for classes should have unique utility, but the things they do. I am not at all opposed to classes having similar abilities to each other either. I mean, I don't get what the problem with that is. As long as it's got its own flavour. And it does. Displacer Beast has a very druidy flavour. You know, the shame and chargey thing with the Ghost Wolf thing does as well. You know, it's all fine. It all works fine. I don't really see what the issue is. But, I mean, that's the thing. Because you've got to think about it this way. For everyone who posts something critical and I will say that in the nicest way, critical about something, there'll be a 10 white knights all jumping on it going, you're just moaning, my class is bad, you're just, they'll just treat you like a troll. So you've got to outnumber them. Simple as that. You've got to outnumber the trolls and you've got to outnumber the white knights. And there's a hell of a lot of both on forums. And you don't engage with them, by the way. Never engage with them. Because what is it they say about trolls on an internet forum? They're like a pigeon playing chess. No matter what you do, they'll just shit all over the board and strut around like they won anyway. So never... In fact, Mark Twain knew about the internet. I know he was a 19th century author. He knew about the internet. What did he say? He said, never argue with fools. They'll just drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. So you keep your posts... Like, there's two types of posts to post on a feedback forum. Like, what you do on other forums is fine. But on an official... And no, don't do it on MMO Champion or anything like that. They're not... Well, they might read that, but they're not going to pay attention to it. Official forums, any feedback posts, the only types of posts you put is, one, saying what you want, and two, is upvoting other posts that you agree with. That's the only way to behave. You don't argue with anyone. You don't do anything like that. You're not having a discussion. You're trying to say something to Blizzard. And enough people say it, they pay attention. Whether they'll do it is another matter. We know that if there's enough people, they will. Because look at flying. They wanted flying gone from the game halfway through WoD. They sneaked it in. Like, there was no flying at the start of WoD. People were a bit suspicious, but thought, all right, we'll leave it alone. And then there came the bombshell. Yeah, there's no more flying anymore. It's gone from the game. Sick of it. 2 days later, all right, there's going to be flying in the game now. Just because of this massive backlash. Now, you'll never get a backlash that big for class-specific stuff because the flying affected everyone. Huge backlash. Something goes wrong with a class, and especially if it's just one spec, all of a sudden, much smaller backlash. That's why it's more important to get involved to make that backlash seem bigger. It's got to outnumber the White Knights and the Trolls. It's got to. Anyway, let's have a look. I've finished ranting now. They didn't need more CD on Cloak. Bloody did. If I'm going to have 5 minutes on my bubble, Cloak of Shadows ought to have bloody 5 minutes because it works on the same abilities. And don't give me that bubble works on physical damage as well. Almost no physical damage in raids. And what physical damage there is, like, let's count it. How many bits of physical damage are fatal in Legion? We've had a couple of this. We've got Eradication on Garothi Wheelbreaker. Fair enough. We had... And anyway, if it's physical damage, I've got Bop. Why don't they just change my bubble, change Divine Shield to magic damage only and give it the same cooldown as Cloak of Shadows? I don't mind that. I'll be with that. Was the backlash mainly on the USA forum? Probably. It was everywhere, but obviously the NA forums were, that's where you need to have a backlash. He didn't answer if the islands were scaling difficulty like Mythic Plus. No, he didn't really. But that's because they don't know. Like he said himself, they're still working things out. To be fair, that is one of the things that they should wait for people to test it before they make firm things on that. But yeah. I was saying something I completely forgot, doesn't matter. Fjordstorm, I will say that hybrid ranged melee class is really enticing. Yeah, I didn't like his use of the word hybrid there. Officially, hybrids don't exist. That's their view. Officially, there's no such thing as a hybrid. So for him to use the word hybrid, it's a bit naughty. That is a bit naughty. That's a bit like a certain someone saying they're the least racist person in the world and then describing a load of countries as shithole countries. That's what that's like. He shouldn't use the word hybrid. Should be a swear word at Blizzard. Gust of Wind is annoying to take out. Super unique, very different to Blink. Well, an awful lot of them. Yeah, I have no issue with that as long as there is unique utility. Like I was saying, like someone, because I said on my video on Sunday, I said every class has unique utility. Sorry, every single one. You name a class, it's got unique utility. So someone named one that said Monk, and I was able to list 4 abilities off the top of my head that are unique utility. They're not all very good. They're not all useful. But that's the problem. The problem is it's not useful. It's not that they don't have it. It's just that it's not useful. How to get BFA? Just use reflecting prisms. You don't think they should bring Feint ability to 5 minutes. They shouldn't bring Feint to 5 minutes. That would be a bit harsh. Cloak of Shadows is the main one I have an issue with. Feint is also really powerful when you can basically spam it. I mean, granted, Feint has an energy cost, which means that to be more defensive, you have to be less DPS-y. But that's okay, because what's the number one rule of DPS? The number one rule of DPS is dead DPS does no DPS. Anyway. What did they say about Displacer Beast? Yes, they said that it's too much like Blink, and Blink is a mage thing. So you're not having it. It's gone. Forget it. They are really talking about taking it away. In fact, I would suggest they pretty much confirmed they're taking it away. Do bear in mind that, it's like I've just said with the Paladin thing, if enough people post that, you need to post 2 things, right? You need to post, no, Displacer Beast is nothing like Blink, and 2, I want Displacer Beast. If 1,000 druids do that, they'll rethink, okay? Honestly, if 1,000 people do that on a forum post, just saying, Displacer Beast is nothing, because what you need to do is you need to attack their argument and then explain clearly what a significant number of players want, right? So you say, Displacer Beast is nothing like Blink. 2, I want Displacer Beast. I'm not kidding, 1,000 druids do that on the forum in one post, in one place. There's no way they can ignore it. And that's the same thing with any class. If 1,000 people just post that, they've got to at least rethink it. They've got to. And if when they rethink it, they still don't change their mind, then you get your friends to do it. So then you get 3,000 druids to post it. And that's what you keep doing all the way through. How is it not like Blink? Doesn't matter how it's not like Blink. If druids want Displacer Beast, I'll tell you how it's not like Blink. Turns you into a cat. Don't care. No one cares if, like, mechanically it's any different or not. Doesn't matter. If druids want it, right, they should be able to have it. Ultimately, there's supposed to be 2 requirements of developers, to my mind. 1, make the game fair. I want class balance. So to hear Ian has a cost, he didn't do it today, but he's done it before, say, is balance really all that important? Yes, it bloody well is, right? And the other thing is to give players stuff that they enjoy playing. So if thousands of druids are willing to post on a forum that they like Displacer Beast, right, that should be enough. Is it unbalanced? Is it making druids have an unfair advantage? No. The reason they want to remove it has got nothing to do with class balance. It's entirely to do with a subjective opinion about what they should have, right? What they think druids should have matters naff all. What actually matters is what actual druid players want, right? If they want it, that's it. Think it's time to change games? Think no, it's not. It's a brilliant game. It's an awesome game. It's such an awesome game that I pay for 2 accounts every month, plus occasionally get WoW tokens and other services. It's such an awesome game that when I change guilds, I am prepared to spend hundreds of pounds transferring my characters if necessary. Right? It's a great game. Oh, to fly to California and have words. They won't listen to me. I ain't got a passport anyway. Well, to be fair, you say Scuba are changing their mantra every expansion. They inevitably will, because it's different people doing it. You know, Blizzard's not a gestalt. There's different people in charge, which means, of course, they're going to change their philosophy, because different people have different... Like, if I was suddenly put in charge of it, then the philosophy would change yet again in the next expansion, because you know what? Mine's different. Oh, yeah, there you go, Donna Shimode. There's another difference between Displacer Beast and Blink. It's a different keybind on my mage to druid, so not the same. Although I have to say, you're a bit foolish for putting it on a different keybind. Really, you should have similar keybinds for similar abilities on different classes. Like, for example, Interrupt is Q for me, and it's Q on every single character. Stun is E, and if I have a class that's got multiple stuns, screw you, why have you got multiple stuns when I've only got 1? But nonetheless, you know, then it might be Control and E or Shift and E, say. You know? Taunt is Shift and Q, always. you know. An AoE ability, a core AoE ability is always 5. An execute ability is always shift and 5, all right? Similar ones. Self-heal, alt and 3. Racial, F4. Did I remove my microphone? I don't have a microphone filter. No, sorry, I don't know what's happened to my microphone then. Because people were, actually I do know, people, sorry, were moaning before that my microphone was too quiet. So I've obviously increased the sensitivity. Hold on, let's see if I can bugger about with it, if it's still too much. It's possibly because I'm shouting. That might be true. I can't rule out the fact I'm not shouting. All right, let me just... I'll tone it down a bit and then you can see if it makes it any better. Okay, there was no apply button when I did that, is that? Kept it as it was? It's kept it as it was. You'll have to see if that's any better. I don't know that it will be. Hold on, there is another thing I can fiddle with as well. Audio, change that to 100. I can apply that. Click OK, yes. What was my thoughts on the class stacking answer? I was basically explaining that I fundamentally disagree that you should be encouraged to bring a particular class because you don't have one. Because it sounds fine in theory, but in practice, what if you don't have that class? What if you don't have access to that class? Then you're gimping yourself, aren't you? That's not fair. You know, like we're doing Mythic Coven, we have one Warlock, that's it. We have one Warlock, no Shadow Priests. I was looking at a Discord today where someone was saying in their guild, like 3 of their DPS had decent Warlock alts. Now they have 6 Warlocks for that fight. We ain't got we can't even get 2 Warlocks. So, you know, we have got a few people who've gone from melee to ranged alts, but either they're not good, like one of them had a Shadow Priest, but it was shit, and another one's got a Hunter. We don't ideally want a Hunter, we'd want a Warlock or a Shadow Priest. No WoW tokens on the auction house. Yeah, that's because people can't get them. I think there seems to be a bit of a problem with getting them. Yeah, we've seen the Kisasha, the pre-purchase stuff. It's all live now, apparently. Some people are reporting problems actually being able to buy it, but I suppose that'll be their job for the rest of the day, really. I mean, they've still got a few hours before their office closes today. It's like afternoon in California. Early afternoon, I think. So, you know, that's their job before they pack up. Oh, no, the beta won't be tied to it now. Still saying the worst Warlock in the game is probably more valuable than the best melee. No, Safian. Like, if I were to put that to the test, that would... Because I have a Warlock, it's shite. There's no way I would do as anywhere near the sort of damage that I can do on my Paladin. Obviously, if I had a Warlock that was... I'm not saying that a Warlock like 30 item levels lower than my Paladin, as long as I knew how to play it and had, you know, some reasonably itemized gear, wouldn't do better. I absolutely agree that it would. But, you know... You personally agree with Ian on bring the player, not the class. What, you don't think bring the player, not the class? Why is that? BFA Horde mount, yeah, but it might be better than the ally one, but it bounces up and down. It's not nice. I don't like the experience of riding raptors. Having 2 melee on cover instead of 1 melee in a dead range works better all day. Of course it does, yeah. But do you know what happened when we were doing our monkey attempts on Sunday, where we had no chance, because we'd have to play really well to have killed it with that comp. And if we, as I say, if we could play that well, we wouldn't only be on Coven by now. We'd have been much further into the raid by now. But yeah, I mean, some of like. We had a situation we had loads of melee. So on the lightning ads, we had to have 2 melee on each one, so that's fine. One either side, we sorted that out because it's not a big range on the lightning debuff, and that was fine. So I went to my spot, and then the lightning thing started, and suddenly went. Pfft, and my bubble auto popped. I went, what the hell? And then suddenly an angel of shame erupted from under me. So we had one of our bloody holy priests stood right where I was standing. And that's the other problem. So you've got people not really thinking about where other people are going to be standing. They're just standing where they bloody well want. So, yeah, it is only 2 yards, exactly. So you don't need a load of room. You know, either side of the ad for melee is fine. You know, you could actually get 3 round if you're a bit careful. You just have to not all go the same way when the storm comes in. But no, I don't know what the 100. I mean, I mean that's the sort of thing that could probably be data mined as well. What gear you get on your level boost, but. I mean, Wowhead have been posting so much stuff, it could be anywhere. Could be anywhere. Yeah, but Safi, you say bring the player, not the class, then have them switch to the best class. There's plenty of people, myself included, don't just want to play. And it's not League of Legends. I was saying this on a comment on my video. It's not League of Legends. We don't just swap to another class. Some people are fine doing that. That's fine. I'm not. I play this game to play Retribution Paladin, and that's it. I'm not totally opposed to healing. Maybe for the next expansion, I'll actually do a proper job of learning how to play healer again and actually do a little bit in more casual content. But at the same time, I also wouldn't like to go healer again. Asmogul just used his boost on a 100 level monk, I assume you mean there. Well, that's fine. Except the fact, you know what? I don't know that there's a big advantage in missing out all the leveling content in Legion. I know obviously you can go back and just do it at level 110 and you can be doing other stuff as well, like world quests. I mean, that, you know, that's fine. But you need to do those quests anyway, just for rep and stuff like that. You got Legion Alpha in the January. Yeah, I got that then as well. Oh, well, what was it? I can't remember. It was either right at the beginning of January, or it was very late December. No, I think it would have been January because they didn't do it over Christmas, and I don't think I had it before Christmas. So yeah, because I was in the second wave. So basically, all the big streamers and people got in, and then I got in the second wave, which I think was very early January. But yeah, I am holding my breath because I'm hoping I'm in. But unfortunately, they didn't even announce. They didn't say anything about it, did they? They didn't even say when the invites are going out. The little beggars. Seriously, I mean, it's bad enough that they haven't opened it already. Well, they have opened it. They just haven't invited anyone. But to not even say when they're going to, what the hell? You don't need them for rep as account bound. No. The achievement, the thing to be able to unlock the allied race is account bound, but the rep isn't account bound. You need rep on the individual characters as well. Targeting a September release. You may well have told me, but it's still baffling given what they'd said beforehand. No, there's no second wave of big streamers. The big streamers all getting in the first round. Bring the player, not the class, may run you into trouble. Why? I don't understand what trouble it brings you to bring the player, not the class. Yeah, my wallet's ready to get, you know, tokens and sell them for a fortune. Why do you need rep on each character? You need rep on each character. First of all, if you want to do professions, then they've got patterns you need to buy. You also get the... whatchamacallit, the caches when you fill it back up to Exalted as well, which is worth other things that you're going to want on that character. You don't need it for the allied races, no. But you need it for the just usual thing. Like the allied races have only just come into the game, but we've needed rep before that for other things. Like to get access to the stuff that they sell. They have to give a release date. Well, they've given a release. Well, they've given one. Well, yeah, but they did that for Legion as well. 9 months on. Well, no, it doesn't mean to say it's going to come out in September. It could come out in August again. It could come out on the day I go. In fact, do you know what? Shall I check? Let me check when I go back to. I'll tell you the release date right here and now, because it'll be the day I go back to work, just like it was for Legion. So you know, this is an exclusive here. Let me find it. Sorry, hold on. It's on my. I've got my work memory stick in the computer as we speak. Right, hold on. I need next year's. Where's next year's calendar? Let me find the bloody thing. That's not it. That's this year's. Go away. Term dates. PDF. Oh, crap. How have I not got PDF reader on this computer? Alright, don't matter. I'll just do it in Edge. Right. Okay. This is when Battle for Azeroth is going live. Tuesday, the 28th of August. You heard it here first. Tuesday, the 28th of August. That's when I go back to work after 6 weeks off. That's when they're bringing it out. Yes, the Legion release date was a Bible verse quote, but it was also still the day I went back to work, and that's what it'll be again. Because there are cells like that. They always do it during term time. Always. I have a quarter of the year off. They have never released it during any of my time off. So the date is, I'm telling you, the 28th of August. I would almost do a parody video about it, but then I'll be accused of clickbait again, so I won't bother with that. Oh yeah, August cutting edge for everyone. Well, that's exactly right. You know, when it comes to the last tier of an expansion, everyone can get cutting edge. If you just stick at it, you just have to stick at it. Everyone will eventually get cutting edge, even if it takes you forever. Because you've got forever. So, sorry, because each player deals with encounters differently, and your overall best raider could not be your best on the particular fight you're progressing on that exact time. Yeah, they can. If it doesn't require... I'm not saying you should just have to take, for your DPS, all melee or all ranged. I'm talking about, for given roles, you should be able to take whatever class. There is no reason why, if a fight is going to take, say... 7 ranged and 7 melee, it shouldn't be any 7 ranged and any 7 melee. Whichever are your best players. No reason why that shouldn't be the case at all. You've got to bear in mind, in WoW, there's a large numbers of classes to choose from. There are other MMOs where you get far less choice, and it's a no-brainer that you can take any ranged and any melee and any healers and any tanks. Because there's fewer choices anyway. You know, Blizzard stuff themselves with a just massive number of choices of not only class but spec. Balula doesn't mind. Balula doesn't raid. Of course he doesn't mind. You know. But what I'm saying is as well, it doesn't hurt him. I was trying to explain this on Sunday, I think. Like, I can understand it. Like, the argument about LFR having to go, yeah, I'm not going to get onto that argument because that hurts part of the player base, quite a large part of the player base. But having a bring the player, not the class attitude doesn't hurt anyone. It helps a load of people and hurts no one. So, I don't see the argument for it. I say Balula very weird. How am I supposed to say it? Obviously you can't. You can try and say it phonetically. Yeah, but Saffron, it's got nothing to do with that. I just don't want to. I don't want to play another class. Like, people sometimes ask me, Belula? No, bollocks. It's not spelled like that. What am I talking about? Yeah. No, I've forgotten it again. I don't want to play another class. I shouldn't have to. Yeah, oh, so that was it. Sometimes people say to me, let's say they completely screwed over paladins, remove them from the game, what would you play instead? The answer is probably Elder Scrolls Online or something, because there isn't... I can't even decide from expansion to expansion what my main alt should be, because it changes. Like, at the start of Legion, my main alt was a demon hunter, then I changed it to a hunter, then I changed it to a rogue. I don't know what it is at the moment. I have no idea. I mean, the rogue still technically is the highest item level. So, I don't know. Bellular. I'm pretty sure he doesn't pronounce it like that. The problem is, well, sorry, Rumbutu, sorry. Oh, maybe he's pronouncing that wrong as well. Is the issue is that you've got guilds, like ours is one guild, it doesn't matter, you've got guilds that know that they're going to have a much easier time on a particular fight with certain classes, and if you can have multiple of those classes, you're going to have a much easier time of it. Like, for example, Affliction Warlocks on every fight, or Rogues on a lot of the Tomb of Sargeras fights, that sort of thing. If you can't get any, then that guild is artificially screwed. They're going to finish way behind a guild of equally skilled players, but that happens to have the right classes. He's never pronounced his name in a vid. Well, okay. Someone will have to ask him then. I'm quite happy to change my pronunciation of a name if the named person, you know, says it. Like, for example, you know, the general, the US General Powell, you know, I will happily call him Colin Powell because I know that's how he pronounces his name. But in this country, it'd be Colin, you know, because that's how we pronounce Colin. But I'm quite happy to say Colin Powell because that's how he pronounces his name. But anyway, but yeah, that's the reason. So I am not going to... I'll play another class for split raids. Like, whenever I've done split raids, I haven't just rolled another paladin, which I easily could do. I'll do another class for interest, but I won't. And, you know, and I did even use my my rogue, sorry, for a few progress fights on Avatar. I didn't use it well, but I did use it now and then. Mostly I didn't use it well because I didn't really prepare it, because I never knew that it was going to be used. It was only on a very ad hoc basis. It wasn't planned to be used. It was just covering absences, really, which never should have happened. Not Colin Powell, Colin Powell. But that's how Americans say. They don't say Colin, they say Colin, which is fine. That's okay. So I'm fine calling Americans Colin. No. No one's called... it's aluminium anyway. No one's called aluminium anyway. No one has that as a name. Ian, I don't know. But I mean, there is one thing I've noticed, because I had someone having a go at me about pronunciation as well, and I thought to myself, they can only be American, because I could be wrong in this, but it's my observation, because I haven't really travelled the length and breadth of America. I've been to a few states, like 2, Florida and New York, that's all. I haven't been anywhere else. But what I notice is there's very different accents throughout America, of course, big country. But they're fairly consistent in pronunciation. Whereas in this country, in the UK, pronunciation changes a lot just from county to county. Like, the way I pronounce words is very different. Like, I come from somewhere just 30 miles away, and it's very different to where I am now, and hugely different to further south and further north and further west. Not so much further east, because that's the sea. And then Denmark, where, of course, they pronounce things differently. But, you know, it's really... pronunciation changes a lot in the UK. Whereas in America, I don't think it does a lot. You know, as I say, accents change, but pronunciations very rarely change much. Oh, it's scone. It's definitely scone. But here's another thing. This confuses the hell out of Americans. Because this guy, he tried to point me towards a website that told you how to pronounce words. And I thought, well, that's no good. Because where I'm from, we pronounce water in 3 different ways. Like, there's some words that I pronounce differently depending on context. So I can say water, I can say water, missing out the T, or I can say water, right? All those three pronunciations are all used where I come from, and they're interchangeable, you know? So sometimes I'll say water, sometimes I'll say water, and sometimes I'll say water. Or like half, sometimes I say half, sometimes I say half. Like Americans say half, don't they? Right? And it depends on context. Like, if I'm talking about pizza, I'll say half a pizza. But if I'm talking about the time, let's say it's 9:30, I'll say 9:30, or I'll say 9:30. If I don't put the past in, it's half. So, you know. So ask someone to pronounce nuclear. I know George Bush wasn't very good at that. George Bush Jr., that is. He couldn't really pronounce it, could he? Just as well, really, because if you can't pronounce it, you can't order it. Unfortunately, Donald Trump does know how to pronounce it. That's what's worrying. Water is pronounced beer. Well, why is the water not safe to drink? That's what Henry VIII used to drink, because in his day, you know, even the wealthy couldn't get access to clean water, so he drank beer and wine. Never drank water, it'd kill you. You don't think an Englishman would be particularly welcome in Boston most of the time? What's that about? Why not? 200 years ago, get over it. Oh, Scotland. Well, of course. I mean, beer's only what you feed the kids. I mean, anyone else, it's whiskey, surely. Fjarnskargl is how I would say it. Liverpool? No, there's nothing wrong with Liverpool accent. Obviously, there's plenty of accents in the UK that can't always be understood by Americans, I understand. For example, the Full Monty film, which was based where I come from, South Yorkshire, apparently, I don't know whether this is true or not, or someone's just having me on. Apparently, because that film really did well, it was a small budget film, but it did really well. And apparently they had to have things like, I was talking about subtitles, or very like they were running like articles in newspapers to decipher the words, to explain what certain words mean. But if you want, I think there's a lot of accents that are probably quite tricky to be understood by Americans and Canadians. Like a Newcastle accent, a Geordie accent would be quite tricky, because Geordie as well uses a lot of words that are actually more based on Danish than English, so it's sort of a different language. But Glaswegian, I reckon, would be quite tricky as well. Like a strong Glaswegian accent, I reckon, could be quite tough. Not so much Billy Connolly, he's all right. He's got quite an even accent. But a proper strong Glaswegian accent. You managed to charge your card twice without giving you the pre-purchase. Did we press a button twice because it didn't work the first time? Oh, do you know what? Worcester, yeah. Because that's something. Americans always pronounce it like... They can't... They always pronounce the word Shire, but they pronounce it when it's in a word as well. Like Worcestershire. Americans would pronounce it Worcestershire, like where I come from, Yorkshire, but they'll say Yorkshire. And there's a guy I watch on YouTube channel, a cook, an American cook. It's Food Wishes, Chef John. He's amazing. I love him. But he uses Worcestershire sauce, but he always struggles over this pronunciation. I think the reason is because most Americans would call it Worcestershire, but he tries to pronounce it properly, and I think he struggles over it. Sometimes he does it all right, but I think he trips over it because it's not naturally how he would do it. Oh, yeah, yeah. I think, by the way, this Azeroth review is finished. I'll have to cut it off before here. Rab C. Nesbitt, subtitled in England. I could understand it, though. It was all right. I mean, bear in mind, Rab C. Nesbitt was played by Gregor Fisher, who was English. He was from the south of England. But, oh, yeah, I used to love Rab C. Nesbitt. Aye, Schweinejar. It was amazing. But, yes... even some people in England couldn't quite understand it. Yeah, that was a properly well done Glaswegian, strong Glaswegian. Oh, you watch Food Witch as well? Well, yeah, he's got a bit of humour. Do I think $53.99 is overpriced for the premium order? I never have any strong moral views on the price of a collector's edition or a special edition because you don't need it. It's just cosmetic things. I would only ever query from a moral point of view the cost of a normal edition. So, you know, a special edition, they can charge what they want. Lord of the Rings Online, which, you know, is not the greatest anymore. You know, they brought out a special edition. I happily paid over 100 quid for that this summer, you know, just to support it, basically. No complaints at all, because I didn't need that version of it. And the normal version was actually quite sensibly priced. What will be the spec in BFA that will be the short stick? Inevitably, because I don't think it can be helped, it will be one of the specs for the pure DPS classes. But no one cares about that because they'll have 2 strong specs. So it might be Outlaw Rogue again, something like that. Probably won't be Survival, because if they're looking at Survival, they're looking at making it more user-friendly. It is over £20 for one mount. You've got to bear in mind, the cost of mounts in WoW is actually quite expensive. When you look at the cost of getting a mount off a game that has a proper online store, what they charge in WoW is actually pretty expensive. But at the same time, it's cosmetic. You don't need it. You know, you don't need it. Affliction locks can't get nerfed to the ground. The problem with affliction locks is any multi-dotting class, if there's going to be a council, like Coven is a classic, well, I say classic example, there's not been many examples like this. It's a council fight, in other words, shared health pool amongst bosses that you can't stack. Inevitably, a multi-dotter is going to do really, really well on that. But you can't nerf them, because then when they do any other fight, they'll be pants. That's not fair. That is just not fair. The problem is with the concept of multi-dotting. If you're going to have multi-dotting in the game, you've got to accept that that's going to happen every now and then. That's actually okay. I don't criticise Blizzard for class stacking on that sort of fight. The only thing I criticise them with Coven is not the fact that Warlocks are too powerful, that there are too many penalties for being melee. Now, it's not that you can't do it with loads of melee. Of course you can. But you make it harder, and when you make it harder, that means more wipes before you get it, and that gives you a disadvantage over someone who doesn't have to bring that minimally. It's that simple. There's lots of specs that need a rework, but at the same time, I have less sympathy for 1 dead spec out of 3 than someone who only has 1 spec. I only have 1 DPS spec. I would be perfectly happy to play another one if they gave me another one. If Shockerdin was a thing, more than happy, but it's not. So they're not going to do that. They've already stated, although I can't remember them all, they have already stated what their priority targets are. And apart from, I'm pretty sure Feral Druid was still one, but I can't remember. Survival Hunter was obviously another, because they said that again tonight. But they said that. Now, I used to prefer the term Retnub. That's what I used to apply as to guilds. Retnub. And it actually pleased me that people thought I'd be crap. Because then they looked a bit silly. See you later, Pinky. But anyway. But I think what I should probably do is call this to a close. It's already gone on for a way long time. I'm going to need to cut it up and try and get it onto YouTube before I go to bed. That's actually going to be tricky already. There's only like 2 hours before I really want to go to bed. And it takes a long time to render. So I'll call it a night there. I'll be on streaming again tomorrow, of course, with the guild farm raid. We'll see how far we get in that. But, yeah. But anyway, thanks for coming on. Semi-interesting stuff that was in the thing, but only 3 main points of interest. But I will see you later, and thanks very much. Have a good night, everyone.